I would go back to bed, right,
Mhm.
and sleep until I don't know, like noon or 2 or whatever.
Yeah.
Um, but I don't
We
have
are
that. I
live.
don't have that luxury anymore. So yeah, I've been up since then and had
Man, that's a long day.
I'm struggling to stay awake right now.
Okay.
I'm not gonna lie to you.
All right.
Well, we will. I only want the show to be about an hour and a half.
Okay.
Yeah.
So,
Cross fingers, right?
2227-060. Sup, party people? Sup with you, dude?
I'll put it up on Facebook real quick.
Oh,
Okay.
thank you. Here, well, let me give you the URL. Well, you probably already got
Yeah,
it.
I've already got it.
Okay, I'll update the front page.
Oh, you poor guy who just got back from Venom.
Oh, who just got back from Venom? What would your grade be? 227.
Yeah.
I have not seen it yet. I plan on seeing it next weekend.
I have heard interesting.
Have you not
opinions
seen it
about
either, Mike?
I haven't. I have been very hesitant about going to see it because
I think it's hysterical.
Because I'm one of those. I'm one of those things. I'm one of those guys who's pretty much, from what I understand, it's one of those things. Like, it's one of those things you probably have to go in. You probably have to wait, and basically, it's one of those things you have to like kind of riff on with your friends about how bad it is. From what I understand,
I have not seen it. Yeah.
It's good.
Did you see it, Ashley?
I'm so torn because I want to see it to make fun of it because I love bad movies, but I don't want to support Sony. But it's already done much about as well as they anticipated.
I know. Yeah, it's like, but
well, let's see what the drop off is like.
Yeah, the second weekend drop off.
Because I'm pretty sure like all the Venom fans, must have probably seen it. All 5 of you guys out there. But we'll see what the drop off is like, because like the drop off is going to be very telling. If the drop off is 40-something% or something like that, because that happens sometimes, then it's made its money.
Yeah, because what did it make opening weekend?
I think it was like 80 million.
80 million.
So it's just 5 too.
Worldwide,
so it didn't quite break even because I think it was was it $100 million to make?
There you go.
Yeah, no, 100 worldwide. It made over 100.
Made 202. I thought
it's gonna
like that.
It's
202 million.
Oh, okay.
I don't know about that, but let me see it. I can look at.
Like a Box Office Mojo or something.
Yeah, hang on.
Yeah, I think it was 202 is what I saw it, which is pretty good.
Yeah,
I agree with George. The drop off will be amazing. I would bet.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah,
Grant, what's up, sir? I think it's hysterical. All these spider people, have not seen it.
230.
Yeah. What's up, Mark?
Okay.
Hey. How are you, sir? Dark Mark.
How you going?
I'm going fine. Just survived a hurricane again.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Wow.
Which is weird. It was actually named after me, but that's all right.
Mark, your son is in the YouTube chat. He's chatting with us
already.
Already, dude. Here's the link. Oh no, that's not the link.
Yeah. Grant Alford. Watching you guys in 4K and on my tablet. Ooh.
You are not watching us in 4K. I am sending a 720 HD signal.
Mm-hmm.
But it's all good, Matt.
Mm-hmm.
I would look even sexier in 4K if that were possible.
Oh yeah.
All right, are we ready? George, I was looking at the iTunes review. July 21st was the last one we had, so I think I've read that one. About Blaster McGee, mind-blowing knowledge, and all-encompassing Spider-Man podcast. I think I've read that one.
Okay.
So no iTunes reviews. Let me close that.
It's like people can't say we're negative anymore. What are we supposed to say about them now?
What are we gonna say next?
Yeah.
Well, we could be negative about certain comics that have come out. These
guys are too positive.
What comics have come out?
Well, the ones that you guys probably read on your crawl space satellite reviews, for one.
Oh my gosh, dude, that was so many books. That was a marathon.
I don't miss that at all.
I know you don't. Your name came up a few times during that, George. I don't know if you listened to it.
No, I was busy doing other stuff. Oh, by the way, I'm about to be. I have to fill out the paperwork, which means tax forms and whatnot. But I'm about to be a Twitch affiliate.
Yay!
What's a Twitch affiliate?
That means I can have subscribers.
Yeah.
Oh, cool. So people are gonna watch you play video games and stuff?
Yeah, it means yeah. Basically, what will
And-
happen is they'll be watching me play Grand Theft Auto 5 role play.
Yeah.
The community on this thing is huge. It's why I was able to get affiliate as quick as I
Right.
did, which I actually could have gotten it much quicker if I hadn't taken 3 weeks off. I probably could have gotten it that first week that I was doing. The community is very
Yeah.
very close knit, very very big, and they're they're a very good group of folks. I was part of them watching all this Grand Theft or GTA 5 role play for like months now. I've been watching it since like, oh God, May, I think, April or May. And so I finally get to play with all these people. And I mean, some of these folks have like, like 2,000 viewers at a time, or, something
Oh
like
my
that.
gosh.
Not all
Yeah.
of them. I mean,
I was amazed when I was streaming PS4 Spidey.
Oh yeah.
How many people were watching? It's a foreign concept to me as a 43-year-old dude that people want to watch other people play video games.
dude, I watch
Oh,
Overwatch World Tournament all the time. So Ashley probably does.
I don't get it. I always hate watching people play video games. I have to play it.
Now,
I'm like, why am I going to watch you play it when I can play it?
now the same theory though goes with sports. Like people love to watch sports, and this takes some skill and some video game athleticism, I guess, if that's a word.
Hand-eye coordination is what you're probably looking for. I think
There
that's what
you
you're
go.
looking for, Brad.
Completely.
It's interesting though. This would be more akin to people watching practice sessions than like an actual game or tournament or anything competitive.
I
Well,
watch,
speaking
I
of
watch
which-
video games on Twitch all the time.
Yeah, I do
funny.
that too. Speaking of which, George, would that also include more streams of our
Of us. Yeah,
Of-
we've got it. Well, I don't know. We've got our. There's some kinks I want to.
Yeah, we got to kind of probably work out some of those.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's some kinks.
Although they're fun. I mean, that was a blast the other
So-
Oh
night.
yeah. We had
Let's
a good time.
let's get started, you all.
Oh, hang on.
Uh,
Let me go get my drink jug, so I'm not
Your
getting
jug.
Yeah,
Oh,
let me go
Does it
get
have
my
a handle? Does it? Well, a buddy of mine went to KFC once. He ordered a large Dr. Pepper, and it came in with a handle. I thought that was hysterical. That was the
Yeah,
largest.
John Shada 24 makes a good point. Video game tournaments.
Yeah,
People,
yeah,
because I mean,
that's
when you're watching fighting games and everything like that, if they're playing, especially if you get like
I
some
don't-
like Street Fighter and
I
everything.
don't belittle it. I mean, everybody likes what they like. It's just that's
sure.
something I would spend my free time on, watching people play video games.
Well, I mean,
And
some
it-
people watch them because if they want to feel like okay, like they want to see like
part of the community.
if they look at it so like walkthroughs, like they want to like if they're like stuck on a certain point, they want to like here's how we can get.
Now I do
past
go
that
to
thing.
those on YouTube and figure out how to get past a point on a video game.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But one thing I didn't enjoy,
You reek of nub to me,
I reek of what?
noob.
Oh,
Noob.
one thing I didn't really care for when I was streaming me playing PS4, Spidey was. I felt like I was performing. I wanted to get a broadcast where people.
You're not used to that, are you, Brad? no one expects you to perform, do they, Brad?
I
Walk right into that
felt like
one.
they wanted a broadcast. They wanted to. Maybe it was the old reporter in me, but I felt like I had to bring it.
Well,
Like, I
there
had-
is that thing. I mean,
I had to bring it the funny.
You probably experienced that before, Brad. I mean, being broadcasting, like when you were on camera, you kind of like there's sometimes you have a different
Right.
people's personalities kind of change.
Yeah,
you
I
can't
like
really help it.
I like to
Yeah.
focus on playing the video game, not performing. So I thought,
Yeah,
maybe-
Right.
I can see
Yeah.
how
Maybe
it'd
that's
be
what-
hard to mesh the two, to sit back
Yeah.
and relax, but also
Mhm.
like be running commentary at the same time.
Mhm.
I felt like the Kingpin wouldn't have beaten me so easily if I wouldn't have been performing.
Right.
You probably
I-
did
I'm
better
a
than I
kid.
did. I think you did better.
Brad, I've been watching on Podbay and let's see here.
I went back and watched all that, Brad, like your gameplay footage. And
Yeah, what'd you think?
like, you can't swing to save your fucking life.
Oh, I
Or pardon me, you're effing.
dude,
live.
I can swing with the best of them now. But what about the video game?
That
No,
was
I'm sorry.
Crazy.
Let me answer this Comic Kid question. Brad, I've been watching on Podbay and I'm up to episode 70, but episodes 13 to 23 and 1 in the late 60s are missing. Where can I fill the holes so I can be a completionist? I think there are a couple episodes missing up on Podbay. When I uploaded all of them, I missed a couple. But I've got
a couple.
the
This is 13 through 23. He says
13 to 23. I'm
that's
thinking
10. That's more than a couple.
Okay, that's 10. I'm missing. Yeah, I think there's 10. Thank you.
Definitely.
It's math with George tonight.
That's
Yes,
a couple times 5, Brad.
There are a few that I'm missing in the early ones, and I just haven't gotten around to uploading them. But I will. I'm
Mhm.
sorry.
Venkman had a question before.
Oh, what's
before
Vinkman's
this.
question?
He had a question. You got to scroll up. You totally just scripted.
Okay, there he is. Question for the panel in the live chat. When putting together a full run of ASM, do you consider the 1.1 issues to be absolutely necessary? Can you skip them? Just focus on the main title. Well, if you're a completionist, you need everything that says amazing on it.
You got to get
However-
over.
Well, no, I would. There's actually one version of the 0.1 stuff that you can absolutely skip, which is the Amazing Grace.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
With that is just
And learning to crawl by
garbage.
slot is. And
Yeah.
Mark, you hate those, don't you?
Oh my
Those
gosh.
Amazing Grace. He had to
Have
review
you
them.
ever seen, yeah. Have you ever seen the Ewok made for TV movie?
Yeah, with Wilford Brimley.
I would rather watch that every day for the rest of my life than pick up another.
Yeah, I had to when I was writing reviews for the crawl space. I had to basically write those out too. I think I was reviewing those on the site, wasn't I? Still?
No,
Dude.
I was.
That was Mark.
Oh, well, you were okay.
I
don't know
remember
if I was-
Mark.
Taken on.
Okay, that's right. I was because
Mark
I was doing it for whatever
Mark
Spark
was
Cam or something
thoroughly
at that point.
ticked off having to review those books.
Oh, I was. Yeah,
got
I
this
was on the
I got this
podcast doing that
Facebook
thing.
message saying, "Hey, Mark, you going to do the Amazing Grace?" And I was like, "No, I was just going to do the, the Amazing Spider-Man." He went, "I want you to do the Amazing Grace. Why don't you go back and get those other issues and catch up on them?"
Speaking of Wilford Brimley, you remember back when The Firm came out with Tom Cruise?
Oh yeah, he was mean.
Yeah, and he was in it, and he was like, basically, he was like, well, you got to be careful, Tom Cruise, because you could be blackmailed like this, and he was like showing him pictures of him screwing that gal on the beach and whatnot, and and the way he phrased it was, not just screwing, neither intimate acts, oral and whatnot. And I remember watching that in the theater when Wilford Brimley said that, and in my mind, I hearkened back to the Ewok movie. It's like, dude, you have acted with Ewoks. You can't be talking about intimate acts, oral and whatnot, dude. You've danced with Ewoks. Come on, Wilford Brimley.
Dance with the devil in the pale moonlight.
Ashley's done. She's like, I'm out. You guys are talking about Wilford Brimley.
I have that on DVD, and I don't think it's been printed again.
No, because Lucasfilm wants to deny all existence of it.
There's Ashley's ginormous.
Oh, what's up, Bogey?
Yeah, hi, Bubby.
Hey, Bogey.
Yeah, hi.
Okay, let's get started, y'all. We're about 15 minutes past.
Sure.
Let's see. Mark,
Oh,
you got
here's JR, or should I say the Green Guy?
Oh, perfect timing, JR.
Oh God,
Okay.
JR.
the reveal.
So, Mark, you've got 5. Who's got George? I just lost George.
George is 6.
George has issue 6.
Mm-hmm.
Mike, you've got issue 7, and Ashley, you've got the annual. Okay.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
All right, let's get started. JR, you ready?
Well, of course. Why wouldn't I be?
You made it just in time. We haven't started.
I mean, I may be old, but
You
still
may
got
be
it.
old. Maybe old.
or should I say, as Jefferson said at the beginning of the second act of Hamilton, what did I miss? So,
And JR JR would know. He was there when Jefferson said it.
The comic kid in YouTube chat says this is my first time watching the video and no one looks like I pictured.
What, more handsome than you imagined?
Well, wait a minute. Now, did you imagine that I actually look like Burt Reynolds?
By the way,
did for
moment of
years when I first
silence.
heard you.
Moment of silence for the bandit.
No doubt.
Man.
well, I always said when Brad wanted to go to these, I said, Brad, we have faces for radio, but he didn't listen. So,
No.
here
Dude,
we
I
are.
made a career of a face on the other broadcast.
Speak for yourself. I could sell things. I could be the face of a brand.
What would you sell?
Tampons.
Wow.
Tampons?
What?
I was just trying to guess what George was going
George,
to
I'm
say.
not buying tampons from you.
I was thinking like cars or something cool like that, and
Let
offered.
me hear your car salesman pitch commercial. Let me hear it, George.
This car will get you laid.
All right.
How's that? You like that?
Sell a few.
Yeah.
I was about to say maybe some men's
Oh
hair
my
products or
gosh.
something.
22-7 says, when I pictured Brad, I imagined him with glasses and an old reporter's hat, and JR with a cowboy hat and sunglasses.
Actually, Adam Shingle, I was actually thinking that about George. If he could sell bourbon or scotch.
Well, I could
Dude.
sell whiskey. Yeah, I could be the world's most interesting man. I
Hey,
could
hey,
sell liquor.
This is a
Yep.
Spider-Man podcast.
Mhm.
Make a commercial out of selling bourbon, drinking it with the Kingpin. Go.
Hi everyone. I'm George, and I'm drinking. I'm not drinking bourbon because I'm not a pimp. I'm drinking scotch with my friend Wilson Fisk, and we're both celebrating the fact that Amazing Spider-Man doesn't suck now.
Sold. Everybody. There you go.
Mhm.
George, ironically, is exactly how I pictured. Says 22-7.
Yeah.
All right. Enough of this. Let's get started. Here we go. Coming down in 3, 2. Hey, Crawl Spacers, welcome to our Spider ASM review podcast. Let's introduce the panel. We've got Mike. What's going on, Mike?
Well, I think we should offer our sincere condolences to Zach, who couldn't make it to this podcast, probably because he had to review Ben Reilly, the Scarlet Spider 25. And I'm sure he's probably in severe mourning after the debacle that would happen in that issue.
Yeah.
And all of you.
Did you see the review on the front page? They gave it a 0 out of 10.
Oh,
On a Peter David book.
Yeah, I know.
Poor
I've been reading comments
Reilly.
about that from around the internets, and people are just like in complete outrage, which I have to remind people, and something that you, George, once said, it's not Ben Reilly, it's Ben 27. The real Ben Reilly is still a bag of flour. So
yeah, when the clone conspiracy came out, and it was like somebody had set like a paper bag filled with dog poo, and set it on fire on your doorstep.
Right.
Remember, we were telling Zach, we're like, dude, listen, we know you're bummed. This is not Ben Reilly. Ben Reilly turned into powder. He's gone.
He's been gone 20 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, as long as you think of it that way, you're fine.
Zach and I had an intervention on the podcast, Patreon podcast. If you want to listen to that, Zach just goes off on 25. That's the heck of a tease to listen to that episode. It's really good. The other voice you heard was George. What's going on, George?
Hi.
Moment of silence for Burt Reynolds. Sorry for the bandit passing away.
Pour one out and I'm not really going to pour one out because it's going to go all over my rug, but pour one out for Burt Reynolds. Had a good long life though.
No doubt.
Good long life for the bandit.
If you have Amazon Prime, I watched The Last Movie Star on it. It was one of Burt's last movies. It's really good.
Yeah, it was him and
the girl from Family something, Modern Family.
I saw the trailer for that.
Can I not remember her name?
Really good. Also had Chevy Chase in it too. Strange. Anyway, I recently watched Smokey and Bandit. Still a great movie.
Oh, it's absolutely. I'm so glad they didn't wind up remaking that.
Well, in the 90s, they made a television show called The Bandit.
Yeah, but that doesn't count. No one really remembers that.
All right, yes, I do.
But no, they were going to remake it with that guy from Jackass.
Oh my gosh!
Oh, really?
Was it Johnny Knoxville?
Yeah, and then that idea kind of petered out like a bad fart. Thank Christ. Proving the fact, proving that there is a God. God stepped in and said, no.
We also have JR. What's going on, JR?
Yeah, well, I, in honor of Burt Reynolds' passing, I think I'll try to stream a season or 2 of Dan August, that great television series, right, George?
I don't remember that show.
George, is everybody?
No.
Hello.
You're not even
I think you went back to the 60s before any of us were born.
Dan August, George, don't you remember Dan August?
No, I don't. And this is somebody who's like, well, now I've watched things that were from before my time, like in reruns, like I've watched them, like when I was a kid on TV, like I've seen all the Gunsmokes with Burt Reynolds in them, by the way, just as an FYI, when he played Clint Esper.
Can we do 6 Degrees of Burt Reynolds and Spider-Man? How could you do it?
Series 1970 to 1971. Burt Reynolds, Norman Fell, and Richard Anderson.
I could do 1 degree of Burt Reynolds with Spider-Man. Sally Field is Aunt May. Boom.
Yeah. Oh, that's true.
There you go. There you go. 6 Degrees of Spider-Man with Burt Reynolds. We've also got Ashley. What's going on, Ashley?
Not much. I finally beat the Spider-Man game, so
awesome.
Awesome, but depressing.
Oh my gosh, the ending. We're not going to spoil it, but the ending. Heartstrings. I mean, seriously.
I know.
Yep.
Oh,
When we record
someone
that,
actually went and did it. Finally, it had to happen.
when we
the newly minted Ashley, by the way.
Oh yeah, George, you
Yeah.
haven't talked to her
Yes.
since she
That's
tied the
right.
knot.
Aw.
There you go. And we have.
Hang on, let me crudely form a heart with my fingers. If I know how to.
Better.
There you go.
Your
Heart.
thumbs have to be the
Like
bottom
this?
of the heart.
Yeah,
Like
that's
this
not
one?
how I'm gonna do
Kirby
it.
heart.
No, your thumbs are
yeah.
the bottom of the heart.
Look, no, my heart is
Or you go
sharp
like this.
and angular.
Again,
that?
That's like a spade.
again, keeping it Spider-Man related. This means I love you, and it also means thwip.
Yep.
There we
Gotta
go.
put the
It
Boom.
also means, rock on.
And rock on, yeah.
Universal.
Be like you got anything out of me, young great.
And last but not least, we have Dark Mark Alford, our ASM reviewer. What's up, Mark?
Hey, I'm glad it's not really dark, Mark. We just had a hurricane come through here, and I think
my
everybody's power in Hillsborough, but my neighborhood is out. So
Oh, okay.
Wow.
Oh, real quick, Dark Mark's spawn of Dark Mark says, George, you're my favorite. I hope you end up replacing Dark Mark.
Grant, your son Grant is in the
not
YouTube chat.
seeing that on the. Oh, it is. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, he can. You can take over his college tuition then. How's that?
I'm suddenly Maury Povich, and George is not the father. And welcome to all 26 viewers watching us live on YouTube and chatting with us, interacting with us. I always think that's awesome that we do that.
Right.
Okay, so starting it off, speaking of Dark Mark, ASM number 5.
Number 5.
806. Take me through this issue, sir.
Okay. Well, we start off with a little Chi-Town love being sent his way because Peter Parker and Mary Jane are walking and just coming out from a date. I don't know where they went. He's got no money, so it was somewhere cheap. They just probably walked through the Central Park or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
Outdoor movie night. They ain't going to McDonald's because he doesn't have enough to buy her anything there. So he's walking and he says, I'm finally going to talk to her like I should have done in the first place. And after he explains everything that's going on, she turns to him and says, look, I know I said I didn't want Spider-Man and I wanted you, but you turn out or be pretty boring. So I want you to get Spider-Man back. More or less. I don't have the exact
haven't
words
had
right in
that
front of me.
Mary Jane dialogue in
For
10 plus years.
Yeah.
10 plus years. We haven't heard a sentence like that in a long time.
Yep. So he's all excited, and all of a sudden we jump into the future, and Peter Parker is laid out bleeding to death. We don't know how. He's just there, and so then we go back to in time to show that what he was thinking it over about what to do about the science thing, that isotope genome accelerator. And we get all the background that we need to know, which is the isotope genome accelerator didn't just split apart Peter Parker and Spider-Man. It also is going to kill them because you can't live just half of yourself. So I'm sure there's some moral lesson in there for us all to take into heart and learn and make sure that we are our full person and not just partly.
Mark is going
it means go back and watch Star Trek episode number 4, The Enemy Within. That's
Yep.
what it means. I mean, if you want to know how this is supposed to end. So
Yep. I was waiting for that Star Trek analogy
Man.
with this.
well, I saw this story 50 something years ago. So,
My goodness. All right, Mark, keep going.
All right, so the science thing is locked up. So he has to find somebody who can get it out. So he thinks about calling Ashley's favorite thief, the Black Cat. But then he decides against it because, he's with another woman right now. And calling a former lover, probably not, I'm sorry, not lover, because we never saw anything behind a closed door. A former girlfriend it wouldn't be good for his relationship with Mary Jane.
Right.
So instead of throwing some Ashley love his way, they throw me some love, and he pulls out our favorite villain, Boomerang. And he manages to trick Boomerang into stealing it just by talking about how expensive it is and how it's not even guarded very well, just loosely dropping those words around Boomerang. And of course, Boomerang takes the bait. He goes to the school. He steals the isotope genome accelerator. and is loading it into the back of his van, struggling with the weight of it. It goes out of its way to tell you it's struggling with the weight of it, puts it in the van, but Peter Parker does a little Grand Theft Auto himself and takes off in the van and leaves Boomerang just sitting there wondering what just happened. Now, despite the fact Boomerang's got rocket boots and could easily have caught up to the van, he just forgot. And I think it's probably due to the amount of.
Uh-oh.
Oh, we've Mark. Mark.
Oh,
I'm back.
Mark is frozen.
Come back, Mark.
Don't go where we can't follow.
Aw.
Oh dear. This is live podcasting, folks.
This is live podcasting.
That's right. So is it? But yeah, I think it was
so sad to watch him just frozen like that. It's like when you see somebody sucked into a black hole and the way the physics work.
I hate it when that happens.
It's like
they're actually pulled in and destroyed almost instantly, but because of the way the physics work, you see it for like 10,000 years.
He's frozen in carbonite.
Oh yes, yeah.
That's funny.
Well, not.
Well, if he'd be holding his hands up like this.
Yeah, he'd be like,
JR, would you like to take over?
Well, I was about to say, I mean, I guess since, at least my own son doesn't come on here and insult me like his did.
Yeah,
Take us from when Boomerang or Spider-Man Grand Theft Auto'd.
I was having trouble, like some stuff was freezing up on me earlier, and I thought that was me. Maybe that was him. I don't know. Anyway, so Peter Parker does the cliche of talking real loud, not talking and saying anything suspicious at all. I'm not trying to get. Oops, is he back?
He's back. He's back.
Right, good.
Where was I when I left off here? 'Cause I'm sitting there, I'm just going on like.
You're on issue 7 by now. No, Boomerang just got Grand Theft Auto'd.
Okay, so I do apologize for that. Despite the fact that Boomerang's got rocket boots, he forgets due to all the radiation that the isotope genome accelerator is putting off, and lets Peter Parker get away with the science thing free and clear. Now he tracks down Spider-Man, who's relaxing in a web hammock between some side skyscrapers, and despite the fact that powerless Peter Parker can barely carry groceries for Aunt May, as we saw in the previous issue, he manages to lug this heavy box of isotope genome accelerator parts all the way to the top of a skyscraper.
That's a good point.
I didn't even notice that. Yeah,
that's a good. That is a good nerdy nitpick.
Look at you, Mark.
And despite not able to figure out what a beaker is anymore because he's lost all of his science skills, he manages to put together this isotope genome accelerator. He aims it at Spider-Man, and all this time, Spider-Man's just sitting back in the web hammock, just hanging out, just waiting for something to happen. Okay. And he's about to use it before they get distracted by a swarm of tricentennial. Now, Brad, I'm an English teacher, so I took the time to look up what do you call a group of robots? And the official term is swarm. So there you go.
Oh, get out of here.
Yeah, now you know.
Ooh. Another Spider-Man villain, a swarm.
We better call Kevin in on this one to, give his okay. I think he's got the whole swarm thing kind of co-opted. So.
There's been several mentions of skeletons covered in bees before, like in these books recently. But anyway, go ahead, Mark. Go ahead.
Well, Swarm has his own Twitter account, and Grant has tried to call out to him to let him know that there's a Easter egg of him in the Spider-Man game, but
yes,
Swarm
there
has
is.
not been checking his Twitter lately, so I guess
Swarm has a Twitter.
Mm-hmm.
I hear it's a buzz. Sorry.
Wow.
Go ahead.
All right. So we switch to Mendelstrom, a.k.a. Gaunt, a.k.a. Robot Master. And he's all excited because he made the deal with the Centi demon, which is the only word I can come up with him because he's a demon with centipedes everywhere. Mm-hmm. And for the moment, he has everything going his way. But he didn't read the fine print, and he got gypped because the Centi demon has all his demonic centipedes rip him to shreds before he gets to see Spider-Man die. Mm-hmm. And I also looked up how many people a year die from centipede bites? Does anybody want to take a guess? How many people a year die by centipede?
Before you answer
Around
that,
the world or in the U.S.?
Around the world.
Oh, wow.
Oh, so we got limited to Australia
before,
then.
before you answer this is like next level JR type stuff right here. This is the kind of in-depth research that people tune in to the crawl space.
I
for.
would say 100 people worldwide die from centipede deaths.
I'm going to say it's like a lot more in India alone.
I thought people
Well-
tuned into me just to see me make shit up, not to talk facts.
Well, I mean, are they all in Australia, or are they, because that's where the most venomous stuff is?
Just pick a number, Mike.
42. I don't know.
All
Just
right,
for-
there you go. What's the answer, Mark?
0. Nobody dies from centipede
So I
bites.
was closer, folks. I won, I guess, right?
But what about giant demon centipedes?
Yeah,
Now
dude.
that the internet has failed me on, because I did specifically look up giant demon centipedes, and the internet is Wikipedia even is strangely silent on that. I suspect
can,
conspiracy.
Go
But,
to the 2006 King Kong movie to do your research.
Oh,
See
yeah,
how,
there you go.
how many people get killed by giant bugs.
By the way, Mark, what are you calling the bad guy? Sent a what?
Centidemon.
Scent a demon. That sounds like a new air freshener. Scent of demon.
This is
Well,
why
it's probably
Dark Mark
better than
doesn't
calling
write
him the
comics.
human. It's probably better than calling him the human centipede.
I agree.
Yeah.
That's trademark. You can't do that.
Yeah.
So, well, these demonic centipedes don't bite them; they just rip them up to shreds, and we get the nice little silhouette of it, the shadow of it, so that we don't have to worry about nightmares from little kids reading these books here. But then we go right back to the action. But instead of Spider-Man fighting the Tricentennials that are coming his way, I'm sorry, the swarm of Tricentennials coming his way, Spider-Man and Peter Parker are running away. Because he who runs away lives to fight again another day. And as they're running away, Peter Parker sacrifices himself by throwing himself in between a bolt and Spider-Man. Spider-Man could have easily jumped out of its way using his spider sense, but this Spider-Man ignores his spider sense because he says it is annoying and it takes up too much of his time.
Turns it off. I didn't know you could do that. That's cool.
So there he is. He's dying. He's saying all these important things to Spider-Man about responsibility, and Spider-Man seems like he's getting into the concept of it, but then reveals, nah, he's just going to go right back to playing video games and ignoring everything that means anything. So Peter Parker whips up a web line, hits the science thing, makes it fall, which somehow does not break the science thing, but actually activates the science thing. And it does its science business. And all of a sudden, Spider-Man and Peter Parker are scienced back together. But not before Spidey tells Peter Parker to lighten up a little bit, please.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So now they're back together. We don't know if we should call him Spider Parker or Peter Man, but they're back together
I
now.
call him Peter Man.
Yeah, that's bad. That's bad call. Once it came out of my mouth, I realized that's probably not the best. He hacks the Tricentennial and then sends the whole swarm of Tricentennials to the Life Foundation, where they find Strom in little pieces spread out all over the place.
Mm-hmm.
And all he can say is, guess my name. And then all the Tricentennials say, guess my name. And then they go into the building and blow up, and the Life Foundation is done forever. And I'm not sure if I meant to look it up beforehand. Is there a villain in the Marvel Universe named Rumpelstiltskin? Because if there is, that is my guess for who this Centidemon really is.
I was thinking it was probably Snoop Dogg.
No, I was thinking Mick. I was actually thinking Mick Jagger.
Because of that one song you got, like, what's my MFing name? Snoop.
Well, I was thinking Mick Jagger. Pleased to meet you. Hope you guessed my name.
Yeah, well, that would go back to the devil reference there.
That would be something for the devil, and we know what devil character likes to mess with Spider-Man.
Yep.
The most obvious answer that this Centidemon is Mephisto. But that just seems too obvious.
We'll go about it. Talk about
Somebody
him
vying for Mephisto's position or something.
Maybe Blackheart or something like that. Mark, what is your grade, sir?
Well, wait a minute. We got just a few wrap-ups here.
Oh, sorry.
Peter takes Spider-Man's advice and spends the night on the couch with MJ rather than tracking down bad guys. Then all of a sudden we see Black Ant and Taskmaster given the Department of Homeland Security Metahuman and Advanced Technology Division the runaround because they're not S.H.I.E.L.D. and they leave. So that gives us hope that we're going to see more Black Ant. Love Black Ant. And then we get to see our Great White Hunter one more time. And sure enough, it is Kraven who's tracking him down. And then we get the lie of the last page that says, next, Kraven is coming.
Well, he is, but not immediately. But.
And in the letter pages, don't forget, our own Peter, Chi-Town Spidey, has a letter in the back. Congratulations to him. That's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Mark. Final thoughts. Sorry, I'm early in the show for final thoughts. Your grade. What's your grade on this one, sir?
I give it an A.
Okay. Mike.
I give it a B plus.
I thought you said I'll give it a bay.
No, I would bay B whatever. Yeah, it's a B.
JR grade.
I gave it a C plus.
Okay. Ashley.
B plus as well.
George.
I gave it an A, Brad.
Yeah. Kirby hand. Yes. I give it an A also. Okay. Pros. Mark, your pros, sir.
It's just fun.
Yeah, dude.
It's a lot of
agree.
fun. You know,
I agree with that.
we got some Mary Jane in there. We've got Peter Parker and Spider-Man really defining who each one of them are and letting us know that yes, they're two separate characters and then bringing them back together. I mean, this is all around it was just a good fun issue.
The dialogue is one of my biggest pros. I love the writing. I can tell different voices.
Yeah.
It's such a nice taste of this after you've had nothing but what would be a bad meal in your mouth for 10 years?
Dan Slott.
Arby's. Dan Slott too. Yeah.
That's pretty true. Yeah. Pros to the panel. I like the dialogue. Mark thinks it's just fun. I would agree. What's some other pros?
I think the art's pretty good.
Yeah,
art. I think that the art was maybe just a little stuff. Interesting story. When I wrote up my review, did a review on that other site I worked for, the Mark Otley was actually alerted to it because I've made a reference that I thought that he was actually maybe basing some of his art on like artist models or mannequins and stuff. And he says, nope. He says, sorry to disappoint you, guy. And so I wrote back to him and says, oh, I stand corrected.
Wait, and Mark Otley. Who's Mark Otley?
No, Ryan Otley. I don't know why.
Yep.
Sorry, I was thinking Mark Bagley for a second. But no, I talked to Ryan Otley and everything like that. And he kind of reassured me, no, it was all him. And I said, oh, that's great. And so I said, so really nice guy and everything. So kind of bumped things, So yeah, I think the art's really good in this thing.
The art is growing on me more than the free day in the first issue. I'm liking it.
He's very good. I mean, yeah, it's a very kind of a simile, like almost like a style that you would see in like cartoons or animation, and so you can see a lot of like there's a nice facial expression, slightly maybe exaggerated, but they feel genuine when you look at them. You know what they're instantly feeling. So, which I think is really good when you especially when you're looking at comic book pages and stuff.
Yeah.
And I will say, although I mean, I do like the interaction between Peter and himself, I guess, with Spider-Man and stuff like that. I really liked it. Like, I think it was the same as issue 4, where you can see the difference between the two. Like, you can actually hear. Yes. I mean, if you were like, say, like having it'd be an interesting challenge for Lenny, kind of like if you're doing voice actor, like for example, like a Josh Keaton, for example, doing this, and you can try it'd be interesting. You can hear. They would sound the same, but they would have like the different, pitches to them, which I think would be, which again is great. And I'm actually kind of intrigued by whoever this centipede, demon scarecrow looking guy is, who may or may not be connected with Mephisto or Blackheart or some kind of up and coming, demonic guy. yeah, it's kind of like, okay, I like that kind of the mystery thing there and a little bit of a tease. So it's
I like what Enigma said in YouTube chat. We would call it a slot burger, and 22-7 says I need some Spencer to wash this slot down. I think that's kind of funny.
Yeah.
George, you gave it one of the highest grades along with myself. What did you like about it?
I liked the humor. Unlike the last 10 years, the humor wasn't forced and cringy.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
And it's original. It's not lifted from something else. So that's refreshing. I like seeing Taskmaster and Black Ant. They're a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Great.
Oh yeah.
And I just like the book being about Peter.
Yes.
Yeah.
And not everyone around Peter. That for 10 years we had a writer who it seemed like just hated writing about Peter.
Yeah.
And would prefer to write about anybody else but Peter in Peter's book. So this is refreshing.
Yeah, and George, the next 2 issues, we didn't even have a Spider-Man in costume, and it's still just as fun.
And so I mean, like, so everything's just better all around. The dialogue's better. Mary Jane's there.
That Mary Jane line, that's straight up pre 10 years ago.
Yeah.
That is amazing, literally amazing that she is talking like that.
And
this issue wrapped up the whole I'm undoing everything that I didn't like about Slot's run and resetting it the way I want it.
Yeah.
And we've got the return of a classic villain where it looks like it's just villain and not like the 87 different Craven variants that he was with last time, and that
his daughter and his whole family tree.
Yeah, it's just Craven killing a fat guy. I don't know how that's hunting, but whatever. We have an interesting, apparently an interesting take on an old villain that we're not sure about. This is like Spider-Man's version of Hush or something. I don't know what's going on here with this, but it's actually interesting.
Yeah.
Whereas a new villain, would be drawn out, at different points in the last 10 years in a way that we knew it wasn't going to pay off and we were going to be disappointed regardless. This one actually has potential. It's interesting. I'm not used to this.
Any theories on who that demon is, George?
I don't think it's Mephisto. I think it. I don't know where I saw this. I don't know where I saw if it was in our Discord or somewhere else. But I think somebody said they think it's Hobgoblin and it maybe is Mackindale.
I did see that.
I saw that as well.
That's a weird guess, though.
And guessing Mackindale actually rang true with me a little bit. I thought, that I could actually see that.
Why would the King? Well, this is a couple issues ahead, but why would the Kingpin ask for Mackindale to save Vanessa? I don't get that.
Well, I mean, here's the thing. I mean, Kingpin loves his wife.
I know, but why? How could Mackindale change?
And the fact that, well, I mean, if Mackindale, remember the last time we saw Mackindale, or I guess the last time we saw Mackindale, I don't exactly know when that was, but there was a time when Mackindale had infernal.
Yeah, he was a demon goblin, right?
Yeah. And so, I mean, like, I think maybe this is a continuation of that. This is like an evolution of that or something like that. But yeah, I mean, like, if you're Kingpin and you want to save your wife, because we saw what happened during that god-awful clone conspiracy when Wilson Fisk did the right thing right off the bat and was like, oh, hell no, my wife's dead. Yeah. But I mean, like, if, suddenly it's like, okay, well, yeah, this guy was a shyster. But I mean, like, dude, I've got dark magic at my hands. I can bring back. I can see the Kingpin maybe trying to do something like that. If to get his wife back, yeah.
What's some pros out of you? What'd you like about it?
I liked seeing Peter handle situations like an adult and actually talk to people about his problems instead of running and hiding from them. That was right in the opening of this book. We see him, the problem he's been mulling over for the past 2 issues. He's talking about it with his loved one. And I think that's just something that's been missing for a very long time from a lot of the Spider-Man media we've been seeing. Instead, he just always bears the burden alone, and so many problems could be simplified in an instant if he just went and talked to someone about it. So it was nice to see them just take that path already. I also really liked the unification scene when he, reunites with his the Spider-Man part of himself. It seemed like a really good self-talk and a really good lesson on just kind of self-care and self-love and kind of giving yourself a break every now and then, not always being so hard on yourself. So I think it's not only a really good moment for Peter, and I think he definitely needs to engage in more of that kind of dialogue with himself to not put so much constant pressure to, you know, be responsible to perform as Spider-Man. It's also, you know, good for the reader as well.
Yeah,
so.
and have fun. Lighten up, Peter Parker.
Enjoy being Spider-Man. You're
exactly
Spider-Man. Enjoy that.
Exactly.
It's most of it.
JR, pros out of you. What did you think, sir?
Well, yeah, I got to admit the Mary Jane scene was sounded right. And it kind of reinforced the idea that Mark Webb didn't know what he was doing on the Amazing Spider-Man movies, when Emma Stone was spouting off and saying that, well, Gwen loves Peter Parker, but Mary Jane loves Spider-Man. That was stupid. I mean, that was stupid and showed a lack of fundamental understanding of the characters.
True.
So it's.
Did he say that in like an interview or something?
She said that.
Emma Stone said that. Okay.
When they were promoting first Spider-Man.
But I'm assuming that Mark Webb probably felt the same way, and so to me that shows that you don't get it. And I think the two Amazing Spider-Man movies evidence of that. Anyway, but so I like that. I did like the fact that it was a Spider-Man story, period. No guest stars, none of this other bullshit, no promoting other books, no guest, things like that. I mean, it was a Spider-Man story. Some of my we'll get to cons later, but yeah, but those I would say those were the pros. I mean, it wasn't painful to read. I thought it was a dumb story, but it wasn't painful like some of the last few years have been.
We didn't have you on last month, JR, with issues 2 to 4. And
I wanted to see Stegron go down like a bitch, right?
Don't even. It's one panel, and in that one panel, they also say that the fight destroyed the wing of a museum. So
it was a stuffed Stegron.
Why don't you kiss my dimpled ass?
So what are your thoughts on Stegman's run so far, JR? Because we haven't heard it yet.
Stegman.
Oh, sorry.
Is this when we were? Is this when we? What was the? Isn't this like when we were? What was the Crazy Chris joke or whatever that he liked? He liked Stegman. He was getting his artist mixed up or something. But anyway, but anyway, Stegman.
The writer named after your son. Go ahead. What do you think, Spencer?
I actually think maybe talking about the next two issues, I think I'll save it for that.
Okay.
Because because there's a point I want to make. I like I said, I didn't really care much for this story, but I think maybe in 6 and 7, it's starting to gel a little bit better. So anyway.
Okay, we'll wait till 6 and 7 to hear your opinion. Cons, Mark, you start off. What was your cons out of the book? You gave it a what? An A?
I gave it an A.
Okay.
I have 2 cons. One of them is that freaky little girl that's sitting behind him on the bus.
That has to be somebody's kid that the artist agreed to draw in a book. It has to be, because that was a lot of detail in that kid. I noticed that.
Too much detail for everybody else, and it just really draws your attention to it.
Yeah.
And then the rest of it is just those. We do have a bit of some big plot stretches here. This machine. He just pulls it off the edge of the ledge, and then it works in just the exact same way he wants it to. And that's okay, because the light hearted tone of the book kind of excuses a few of those plot holes, I think.
I was a bit forgiving for that too. I agree. It was a little too easy that it all wrapped up, but it's still an enjoyable ride.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Cons out of anybody else? Let's hear some more cons.
I kind of felt like it kind of wrapped up a little bit too neat, and this is also kind of maybe a strange kind of con to me. This didn't feel like it was a Spider-Man story, but more like a Socratic dialogue, if that makes any sense. Like, it's basically like, it was more like, they had trappings of a story in there, like plot progression, character stuff, and dialogue and everything. But it was more about, this felt more like Spencer a commentary about about Peter Parker and Spider-Man in general. Like, okay, this is who he was, this is where he is now, and this is where he needs to go. And there's nothing wrong with that, but I kind of felt it kind of got a little bit too. I mean, and there's nothing wrong again with meta commentary like this with everything, but it kind of felt a little bit too obvious, if that makes any sense. Like the idea with about that, but I mean, I'm not
almost like he's trying too hard. I apologize. I mean, but almost like he's trying too hard.
Well, say this. I mean,
just get one of the biggest jobs in comics.
Yeah,
so
but I mean,
would be trying hard too.
Yeah, but I mean, it did feel like it was more like like it's like you could kind of see more like it was more like the commentary about Spider-Man more so than it was about necessarily telling a story. If that makes any, I mean, not that it was bad. I mean, again, I'm not saying it's bad.
No, I think you're dead on with it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not knocking the story.
George
I'm not knocking
anything like
that. It's just I felt like
that point, George.
No, I think this is all bullshit.
Oh, okay, all right.
Why?
No. I know. I feel. I guess I'm like the. Okay.
No. I mean, it's definitely a Spider-Man story, dude. Look, we got fighting in here. We got wrapping up a story that's gone on for what, 3 issues?
5.
Yeah, that's true.
Think.
Yeah.
It's not like it. I mean, like it's got to wrap up at some point. I mean, like
sure.
It doesn't end like a Hammer film where the castle explodes and the credits roll. You know, I mean, there's actually, I mean, it's got structure to it. But
sure.
I didn't think it was rushed at all, and I'm fine with that. I'm fine with like things like meta.
You guys are making fun of me for a 1960s TV show reference, and here you go make a 1950s Hammer movie reference. God.
Sadly, I thought he was talking about MC Hammer. Okay, can't touch that. All right. What else we want? Any other cons on that one?
I did have kind of piggybacking off of Mike. There did seem to be it felt like it had a hard time letting the characters be characters. There's a lot of tonal dissonance for me. It felt like whenever we got to a serious moment, we had to always lighten it almost immediately. There's good letting the serious beats be serious, but before they can really sink in, we can reflect on them. There's someone cracking jokes, and I get it. It's Spider-Man, but it feels like when especially with Black Ant and Taskmaster. I'm not too familiar with the characters. I don't think I've seen them too often, and since I've started reading. But it felt like every time they were on the page, they were like doing a bit, and whether they were on a
That's
job,
what I liked. I liked that too. Yeah,
to them, or they're being interrogated, and they're being like they're arrested and being interrogated and being held. It just felt like it was constantly, they were just commentating on the scene, not that they're actual characters reacting to what was happening and who were invested in what was happening. So,
didn't you think they were the comic relief of the book, though? I mean, they're funny.
They are
comic relief.
Oh, they are, yeah.
But again, they're there to be comic relief then, and not necessarily to stand out as characters. There's a line that can be drawn between when this character is just a device of the plot and of the story being told, and when they're an actual character. Right. So I saw that was crossed a little too much for me.
Symbio Bro on YouTube chat says this is Bizarro Crawl Space. We are way too positive. Dude, we're riding a wave of positivity called Nick Spencer.
I was also a little turned off by
and then we're gonna go now
stealing the accelerator.
Yeah. Now we're gonna go to JR now. As speaking of positive, now after all this positive.
Hang on, let Ashley finish what she was saying.
Oh, okay. I thought she was done.
Actually making a point. Go ahead, Ashley.
Yeah,
I was a little put off by Peter just being okay with stealing the accelerator. We have this whole focus on him being the more responsible side of himself, but we never. He realizes he has to steal the accelerator in order to make this work and kind of for the greater good. Otherwise, he's going to die and Spider-Man's going to run amok and do who knows what before he dies too. Yeah. So there's definitely a rational impetus for him to do that, but we don't see him any kind of internal conflict over, oh my God, I'm having to steal this thing. And then he later destroys it.
It'll get better.
it was fine, but just the lack of conscience was felt a little offbeat.
I had the same feeling in Spider-Man 2, which is my favorite Spider-Man movie with Doc Ock, where a guy's getting beat up in the back alley and just walks by. Like that just rubs me wrong for the character.
Yeah. I'm not saying it's anything bad by any means. It was just little inconsistencies. I'm at a point where I can nitpick now. So these are good things.
I think, and because, I mean, you know me, I mean, like over the last 10 years, I mean, I have nitpicked.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it's stuff like in here, like with the Peter and Mary Jane scenes, you know, that make me like not give a damn anymore. I'm just like, you know what? I'm not even noticing like little things that maybe I would have noticed if, I don't know, the writing was terrible. So I think maybe there's an element of that to it. Maybe I'm just not nitpicky anymore, just because I'm happy of seeing Peter and Mary Jane together again, and maybe I'm just thankful for it. Maybe I'm looking at it through like a positivity bias now.
And plus, the book is just fun to read.
It is fun to read. It is fun to read.
It's fun.
It
just is. I mean, like if the answer to fixing Spider-Man after 10 years of complete crap is to basically give us a superior foes flavored ASM, then so be it. My God, let's do this. I'm on board. I'm down.
What are you gonna say, Mark?
Here's what I think. Dan Slott wrote a very serious Spider-Man story, and so he was very, very particular with his details and such. And when they were off, it was a big part of the story. It really affected things. But Spencer's writing this is a lot more loose. It's a lot more fun. And so if there's a detail or two that's off, it's easy to forgive because that's the way it's being written. I think it's fair to take that into account when you're criticizing one writer over the other.
Yeah. Let's move on.
Oh, hang on. I got an emergency message here from a crawl spacer named Neil Bogenreiter.
Okay. What's up, Neil?
Hey, George, happy and positive about ASM. What fresh hell is this?
The scented demon just came out from it. Yeah.
I wanted to say a few things first before we move on.
Yeah, JR's got some issues.
I mean, I've got plenty of issues.
They're all in long boxes. Yeah.
Yeah. I thought, I kind of thought this was just a dumb story. To be honest, if we were to split Peter Parker and Spider-Man, I didn't see, and try to distinguish the two of them. I don't see the Spider-Man part being a complete moron. And when he said, "Why do you keep referring to some guy who's named after a brand of rice?" That joke just kind of seemed a little bit off. That even Spider-Man at his dumbest wouldn't say something like that. I want to take issue, I know, since I want to take issue a little bit with something Ashley said, and normally I like Ashley, even though she's getting.
She just got married.
I know this is JR's way of telling Ashley that they're done professionally. I
know, but I mean, it's just she got married. She threw her life away. Now she was so young, and she had so much to offer, But no, I mean, talking about Peter, manning up, and talking to Mary Jane. How about he man up and talk to Aunt May? I mean, he certainly didn't do that in issue number 1 or number 2. So it's like until he does that, he's not manning up. That was that scene in it where he's not. I mean, come on, the woman nearly was murdered because of you, and you don't have the blank balls to tell her the truth about yourself.
JR,
what?
I want you to go buy a PlayStation 4 and play it. All right?
I've already watched
I'm not spoiling anything. Go play it and come back.
I watched the entire story on YouTube. Okay,
you watched the whole story too.
Yeah, I already watched the story on YouTube. Good grief!
All right. How do you know the old broad? How do you know the old broad doesn't already know?
But that's not the point. The point the old broad should know. The problem is the boy needs to grow up and be a man. And he's not done. He's not done that. Anyway, Craven's a bore. God, I wish that guy had stayed dead. What,
JR's willing to go buy him a shotgun, aren't you?
Yeah, so I blow his head off again. Gosh. And I was wondering, Dark Mark made the point that if a guy can't lift Aunt May's groceries, how can he lift that genome accelerator? Well, how can he fire his web shooters? Because his web shooters are only so how can he fire his web shooters? And I was about to say that like everybody's is kind of smart assy in this story. I mean, you talk about the villains being the comic relief, but this is Spider-Man. Spider-Man's the comic relief.
He's funny too.
But I was reading. I was trying Enigma. I was trying to avoid using profanity. Okay, because I know Brad doesn't like it when I use profanity. And he doesn't like, and he
try to keep a PG-13 show.
So blame Brad, and he doesn't like it when I go off on TSA agents because he censors that entire bit of mine. But anyway,
did I? When was this?
Wow.
That was another point. I did a whole thing on TSA agents, but
wait.
Anyway.
When did Brad ever cut anything out?
No. There's been a number of times where.
You mean I edit and you guys noticed? What?
I noticed when you edit me, but I've always said, well, hell, you pay the bills, you can do whatever you want. But anyway, back to Spider. Well, no, it's true. That's absolutely true. I mean, it's kind of like freedom of speech ends with Brad's pocketbook. So I think it's amusing, but anyway, getting back to
hold on,
Spider-Man.
There you go. There's nothing in it, JR.
Well, that's what happens when we get married. And
we come back to what do we do?
When we get married, both our soul and our money disappear.
Oh my gosh!
Grant Alford made a good point here that I think we should bring up while we're discussing this.
Did he say something nice about you again?
No. He didn't say that.
Yeah.
No. It wasn't nice about me, but he does make a good point. And this is based off, or this is, I guess, in reference to whatever JR said. And I'm glad to see a cogent thought coming from Grant Alford, given his obvious, the setbacks of his genetic lineage. But no, he says, I wouldn't really say it was Spider-Man at his dumbest, more like Spider-Man at his most arrogant. And I agree with that.
Ooh, I do too. That is a very good point.
He doesn't have any responsibility.
There's a little bit of a wrestler Spider-Man in there.
Yeah,
absolutely.
The wrestling era Spider-Man. I could definitely
want to make
some of that.
Make some money. Yep. I say we tackle that one thoroughly. Time for George to get on the couch with Mary Jane and Peter and Boomerang. Issues number 6, number 807 in the Legacy. Go ahead.
Yeah, this
George.
One's titled The Cock Block, Part 1. Trivial Pursuit. Nick Spencer, Humberto Ramos, and a surprise guest penciler for a section of it.
Oh yeah.
But no, it starts off with Taskmaster and Black Ant capturing Vulture in a pretty entertaining scene.
Yeah.
We segue to Peter and Mary Jane about to make out, but then good our new bestest pal Fred comes in and kind of screws up that deal. Mm-hmm. We get a quick brief recap over stuff that a lot of you like me didn't even bother to read about Shield and all the Captain America
Secret
Nazi
Empire
stuff. And how Kingpin's the mayor now and all that. We get a really quick kind of recap about that. But then we see Fred sneak away and go back and visit and we have Spidey follow him. But he goes back to his old lair. Well, not his old lair, but he goes back and hangs out with the superior foes, and a sequence of pages that Steve Lieber, obviously he was. I don't think he was ever in the credits.
No, he was listed. They credited him in the back.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
It's a nice surprise, by
it was a nice surprise. I really enjoyed it, and it was a funny little scene. And then there's. After that, Peter and Boomerang wind up going to the bar with no name, and it's literally Boomerang and Peter, not Peter.
Yeah,
showing up and a bar full of supervillains, and there's a little kind of a neat little look about how it started. It's it's conjecture or whatever, but and talking about a little bit. I like the fact that they made a reference to the fact that Scourge killed so many people there back in the day.
Mm-hmm.
And then And I said this on the Discord when this issue came out. I was like, this almost cements for me that Spencer has listened to the podcast because they basically do Spider Jeopardy.
They do Spider Jeopardy. They do. I thought the exact same thing.
They basically do Spider Jeopardy, and the answer to the first question is Fire Lord.
Yes. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you already know what I'm giving this issue.
Yeah.
Right. Is this more evidence that they're listening to the podcast?
I love that the answer is the game show host too. That is so funny.
Yeah.
So funny.
Yep.
And yeah, so of course Peter Parker completely just takes it to the hole and dominates on Spider trivia.
Yeah.
To the point that he makes the living brain blow up. The living brain, like a supercomputer for anything
I
Spider-Man.
love that.
And he makes this damn thing overload. And I mean, you got so many cool villains here. White Rabbit's here.
Yeah.
Spot's there. The Answer. I like the Answer is the one kind of emceeing the whole thing.
I absolutely love the answer.
Oh my God. So it's a funny scene.
With
Light
the
Master's
Chinese
there.
knockoff living brain.
Yeah.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, the Chinese knockoff.
Chinese lockout because it's not it's Living Brain 2.0.
Who's the
basically.
girl with the sunglasses? I don't know who that is.
That's the new Trapster or the new
Yeah.
Paste Pot P.
Okay.
Or,
Paste Pot
yeah.
Pete.
The brothers Grimm are there, Brad. Remember we covered
Yeah.
them in
And
initial web
is that
Spider-Man?
Tiger Shark? Or not Tiger Shark, Killer Shriek, I'm sorry.
Killer Shrike.
Killer Shrike.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
And so then Kingpin finds out that that Boomerang's at this bar, and he sends basically everybody in the bar like a text message with an offer to basically to do something, because you see all the villains suddenly looking at Boomerang and Pete, who are like suddenly best pals,
yeah.
and they're looking at them real sinister, and that's when we call it an issue.
What, who's to do with the horns?
Oh, that's I
Is that
looked up
Wood
his
God?
name.
No,
No,
is that Taurus from the Zodiac?
No, that's Manbull.
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 Yeah,
Okay.
Manbull. That was
Manbull.
good. Yeah.
Man.
Yeah, Manbull. Yeah, Manbull.
Tell me a little bit about Manbull. I'm not sure I remember Manbull.
And I thought Man Bat was a stupid character.
Who is Manbull? Mike, who is Manbull? I don't know who Manbull is.
Oh, let's see. Manbull is, hold on, let me look him up for a second here. Manbull, let's see, he's a super villain, obviously. First appeared in Daredevil, 78 through 79. So he's actually a Daredevil villain.
He's old.
Supposedly
Old
has
villain.
super strength, agility, endurance. And he's got so basically yeah, so it's so yeah, he's also was
So
oh my gosh, there's a bunch of stuff in here, but yeah, so he's so apparently he was one of those. He's kind of like a stilt man, I guess, in terms of like.
George, you're great, sir.
My grade is an A+.
Yeah,
What universe are we on?
I know, right?
I just love it. Okay, around the horn, Ashley, grade.
Hey,
All right. Dark Mark,
A+.
Mike.
I was going to give this an A- because of Ramos and the appearance of She-Electro, but I'm going to give this an A.
JR.
Electro is growing on me, by the way. I'm sorry. Go ahead, JR.
JR.
Okay.
I gave it a B-.
B-.
Wow, even JR semi-liked it.
This is so strange. Okay. A+ out of me. Probably top 10 issue for me in the last 15 years. Mainly for the Spider Jeopardy.
Yeah.
I mean, when I read that and Peter Parker's yelling out Dexter Bennett, Star-Lord,
Professor what's her name with the Erskine papers?
yeah, and also the who did the Spider-Mobile? I'm like, this is continuity porn done right.
Yeah.
I mean, this is epic. I just loved it. Okay, pros. I just listed some. George, what's some of yours?
Oh, Peter and Mary Jane on the couch until Fred breaks that up. Superior foes. Oh my God, the superior foes.
Oh yeah.
Good Lord, the superior foes. Randy, even Randy's cool, and like the one scene he's in. I mean, like, great. Here's the thing that actually worked back from the Mackie days, like when they tried to kill Mary Jane off.
Yeah, Randy is a roommate.
Randy was a good roommate. Of course,
Yeah,
he'd been Peter's roommate before then.
Wait a minute. Didn't he want Peter to sell all of Mary Jane's stuff that was in storage or
Not
whatever?
sell it. It wasn't just him though. It was everybody that was doing that intervention, trying to get him to move on. and he wasn't
after
ready,
2
so he kept the
issues,
box.
it was time for him to move on.
That wasn't just Randy though. That was like everybody. So don't you can't really just pin all that on
Also,
Randy.
Neil says the Will-O-Wisp mention. I like that too. That was cool.
So I mean, it's just a fun issue.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry. I'm not used to saying things like that. I've gone through 10 years where.
Have you ever given an issue an A+, George? Ever?
Yeah, I think I gave an A+ to the
Like the Superior Foes?
to the first one. No, to the first. I think I gave one to ASM #1.
Oh, okay.
That Spencer did.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I gave that one an A+.
That's funny. Yeah. Other pros, what do we like, guys, gals?
I like the art. I like the Ramos art.
Now I will say this. I do have issues with the Ramos art because it's great. I mean, it's great when when it looks like it has movement, but rather than when they're kind of still. But I think I believe it might have been. I'm not sure if it might have been Neil who pointed this out in the Discord thing. This is something else I noticed. Notice the colors that Peter is wearing when he is quote unquote the liar. They're purple and green. They're basically classic villain colors, which I thought that was like a nice little touch.
That's pretty good. That's the classic Ditko villains. Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Nice.
And the whole bar with no name scene is just absolutely fantastic.
Absolutely incredible scene.
And I also in the case of also because reading this issue and seeing the original art, seeing Steve Leiber back for doing the Superior Foe section. I mean, this is probably the closest. I mean, between this one and the next issue, this is the closest thing we're probably going to ever get to having like a follow-up to the Superior Foes of Spider-Man, which I think great because this, and in a way, and even though I think Boomerang kind of hijacked the book in terms of being like the protagonist, while Peter Parker is basically the Nick Carraway to Boomerang's Jay Gatsby in this. I think it works. I enjoyed it. I got a kick out of it, and I like the I kind of like the building camaraderie that they're sort of having between these two. I mean, a little bit. I thought it was absolutely fun.
Are they doing the Gatsby reference deliberately because of Tobey Maguire?
That's a good point. That's
6
actually
Degrees of Spider-Man again. Gatsby, Tobey Maguire.
Yep.
JR Pros, what'd you think, sir?
One of the problems I had with the last story arc, I think, was for me kind of was fixed in this one. I thought the humor, it was like Spencer was trying to he knew what kind of spirit he wanted to bring to the book, but he was trying too hard in a way, kind of like carrying a sign that said, "Okay, I'm not Slot." This I just felt worked better. I mean, and he gave us a completely new situation. Peter Parker going to the bar with no name, and the whole. I mean, because really, supervillains are pretty absurd. I mean, they are. They're absurd. And the bar with, I mean, the way it was handled, it relished in that absurdity, but it felt, I'm having a hard time describing it, but it felt right. The humor felt right. It didn't feel forced. It didn't feel like everybody's trying to be funny or whatever. And, it really did work for me. It was a fun issue.
I would love to see a television show like Cheers set in the bar with villains.
Oh, yes.
Oh,
Can you imagine? That would be such a fun show.
Mm-hmm.
Netflix ought to do like a 6 to 8. I think it's one of those ideas that has a limited, but I think a good
fun. It could be
fun. a good 8-show miniseries on Netflix or whatever would probably be hysterical.
Great. And maybe cast Ted Danson.
What is he, like 100, Brad?
He could own the bar. This is what happened to Cheers.
Well, no, you would cast people who've played in superhero movies, and like
Tobey Maguire could be the bartender.
Bartender, yeah.
Well, Ted Danson plays a demon now in The Good Place, so
that's right.
He could work in as our Demon. We could just work him in that way.
There you go. Other pros before we get to cons. What else we got?
I had one. This is something actually outside of the bar and the trivia scene. I really like the short moments he's taking at the beginning and end. Well, mostly in some places the end. We didn't really get it in this arc, but to set up the larger story, like when we see Black Ant and Taskmaster taking out Vulture, and it looks like they're rounding up some of Spider-Man's villain roster, and then with the previous arc where they're setting up Kraven, and even though the bigger picture right now has nothing to do with what's going on Peter Parker's actual level, we still get a sense of what's going on in the bigger picture, but without taking away from Peter's story. So it's something I kind of like had to sit with a little bit at first. I was worried, like, we're spending some time here on stuff that's not really important right now, but with comics, you do need to set up there is a lot of setup that needs to happen. So I'm glad to see that he's kind of found a way to manage that pacing for the payoff later.
One thing an Amazing Spider-Man writer that did that quite eloquently, I think, is Jerry Conway. He made you set up the long game and talk about caring what happens in the future and then also caring what's happening in the current.
Stern was good at that.
Yes, Stern, Conway, both very good. And Spencer is showing that I care about the future Craven story.
I feel like if this were Slott, it would have been like a good 5 or 6 pages spent on it instead of 2. And then it would suddenly all blow up and happen in the next 2 issues instead. It would just happen all so fast.
The same scenes would have been written in a way that seemed like it was trying too hard.
It'd be completely rushed as well. There'd be no time to process anything.
All right, let's move on to the con.
I got a couple of pros there.
Go ahead, Mark.
I mean, of course, I love every scene in the bar with a name, but I like the reference to the book Webs that Spider-Man put out, or Peter Parker put out.
Yeah, he said this guy wrote a novel or wrote a photo book.
And I love the history of the bar with no name. It's given this prestigious, history of all these great villains, and then we're in with these bunch of losers now.
Was it Craven in the past? It looked like
Craven and Norman and Black Cat kind of.
It was like they have like all the top tier villains. Like they think maybe it was started by these guys, but then they have
Thanos is in there.
Thanos.
Thanos is there. Talking to Death
needs a drink,
Yeah, basically introducing Death to like his new girlfriend. It was
when Thanos snaps his finger to the bartender, he runs.
I expected, and I say this because I know Neil isn't here, but I expected, Thanos to look at Death and say, "You should try the breadsticks here."
They're great. They're made of pure clones. Cons. JR had the lowest grade. What was your B- about, JR?
Well, first of all, I very, very rarely give A's. I mean, to be honest. Also, it was, after 3 issues of what I thought was fairly decent art, we're getting Ramos again, and I'm sorry.
Ramos.
It's better. It's better. It's certainly better than when he first started, but I just don't like this art. I just really don't. And to me, it just doesn't always. It does. Ramos's art just doesn't feel like real Spider-Man to me. It just doesn't. But so that's part of it. It really that probably is the primary part of it. It's why it got like a B- instead of a solid B or a B+.
I'm the complete opposite of that, JR. I like the art, and I also like the trick that Ramos is doing when he does a flashback. He takes the colors away a bit. You can tell it's a flashback. I like that little trick.
I like the Ramos art here.
But George, any cons out of you? You had an A+. There's not much.
He's shaking his head no.
Nothing?
Nothing.
Our audio listeners, George has nothing to say negative about this book.
I'm so over the moon with this book.
Seriously.
It's getting harder for me to say this is awesome.
JR doesn't care for the art. Any other cons?
I kind of could go with JR on that. Like I said, I think Ramos is great in terms of like when he's showing action scenes, like you really get a sense of movement from his stuff. And when he draw your attention, no pun intended. I just think in terms of when he shows like, people are standing still, it's very irregular. I know it's not supposed to be like a realistic style, but sometimes it kind of bugs me a little bit. Especially the one scene, then the beginning scene where they're evolving when the Vulture is chasing down that one guy. And at first you see he's got these like really itty bitty arms as he's driving the vehicle. And then a few panels later, it's like gangly and stuff. I think, but again, I mean, I know some people. I know rainbows can be an acquired taste, and art is in the eye of the beholder and stuff like that. It's just more like a kind of a slight, nit, nitpicky thing I got with them and stuff. I mean,
back to the pros, I thought that opening scene with the vulture, kind of like what George said, I really didn't know what was going on, and that's an interesting way to grab your attention off the top. And
I will say that that was another thing I liked, the barbecue saying gag.
Yeah, I like when Black Ant said, "Oh, it's not barbecue sauce; it's just another symbiote on him." I thought that was hysterical.
That's great. Yeah, I laughed at that part too. Yeah,
loved it. Any other cons?
Not a single one.
All right, let's move on to number 7. Mike, you've got number 7.
Okay, this is again part 2 of a what was it? A Trivial Pursuit, written by Nick Spencer and illustrated by Humberto Ramos. And so we open up at first back in the bar with no name when all the villains are essentially trying to gain up on Peter and Fred.
What is it? Having got a kangaroo-looking guy.
That's the kangaroo.
Okay.
That's the kangaroo, Brad. Yeah, they're all trying to gain up on him and stuff. And by the way, I love the fact that 8-Ball is armed with a cue stick.
Got a pull stick.
With a pull stick. I thought it was great.
You got Mirage back there too, don't you?
Yeah, you got a whole bunch of folks.
That's funny.
Hey, that cue stick is super powerful.
Yeah. I am disappointed in the spot because he could literally appear right in front of them when they're by that table instead of what he's doing. But oh well. But no, but they're kind of like closing in and they're shooting stuff like this because they got the order from the Kingpin. And so finally, Boomerang or Fred, he takes out one of his sonic boomerangs and he distracts him, and then he says, "Okay, come on, Pete." He said, "We gotta fight our way out of this." And he grabs one of the villains guns and gives it to Peter and tells him to start shooting the bad guys, and Peter's like, "Well, what am I supposed to do with this?" It's just like Call of Duty,
Call of Duty Liberia.
Call of Duty Liberia.
I laughed my goofy ass off.
I thought that was hysterical.
God.
It's just like Call of Duty Liberia. He says, "But you never let me play." He says, "Well, that's because this is war, Pete, and you're just too sweet and innocent for this." I'm like, and of course, Peter, he knows how to work this thing. He sets it to stun and starts blasting away in it. And while this is all going on, the Kingpin is just watching this apparently on security feed. And he says he's enjoying every minute of this. And then one of his aides goes, "Well, I don't get it, sir, because this is the bar with no name. You somehow you convinced them to violate their code of no powers, no weapons, and no fights in this. What did you do?" He says, and I'm going to paraphrase here. He says, "Well, basically everyone deep down craves something that they secretly want. The rich want to live a comfortable, they want to live in comfort. The famous want to be left alone. The strong fantasize by the weak, and the lawbreakers, they want to make the laws. Big, giant, stocky guys like me with bald heads want to be like, Brad Pitt in The Legends of the Fall with long flowing hair and muscular. So what he essentially did was he essentially offered the villains, whoever kills Boomerang gets the job of the commissioner of police. And so he says, as soon as that's happened, I'm going to announce it. I'm going to say that the police commissioner is retired, and he's going to basically, point one of them. And he goes off to the press, and he's going it's time to kiss some babies.
I was really rooting for White Rabbit on that.
Oh yeah,
meet your new police
commissioner. Who will be the police commissioner? Commissioner White Rabbit.
You can see him at a press conference. I'm late. Or she's late. Right?
Yeah. So back at the bar with no name, they're still going. It's still, things are looking pretty bad because Peter is, he's busy trying not to use his powers for obvious reasons. And of course, they're being completely overwhelmed. And his spider sense is going crazy because there's danger all around him. And one of the villains, I think it's Scorcher.
Yeah, from Untold Tales.
Yeah, he tries to shoot with a flamethrower, and that's when Fred does something very uncharacteristic for him. Yeah. Is he leaps in the way of it and gets singed, and it's like, oh gosh, this is going down. And so Peter decides to take the opportunity of that's it. They think I'm the liar, so I'm going to bluff my way out of this. And so he announces this big old spiel I am going to, sabotage all your weapons, Alakazam, and everyone's like looking around like, oh my gosh, can he really do this? So like, what are we going to do? And they're like, and then finally the White Rabbit.
I love that it's her. I love that it's her. That
proving the point that she should be police commissioner. She's like, she's like, hey, wait a second. This is a bluff and everything like this. And finally Fred says, yeah, you're right. He says, but this ain't. And he brings out his Bomberang and he takes Pete and they jump out the window and the whole bar with no name blows up. But I'm sure all the villains will miraculously survive because comics. But yeah, the bar with no name is gone. So sniff
again.
Yeah. Okay. Right.
It's like Xavier's Mansion. It'll be back.
Yeah. So Peter and Boomerang, they're talking on the dumpster and everything like this, and he's like, and he says, eventually they're, and he's like, are you, Peter's like, well, why'd you do that? He says, oh, well, he says, I got to get you to, I want to show you that I got to get you to trust me somehow and everything, because I show you that I'm not really a crook. And Peter's like, but you are a crook. You're still wearing your supervillain costume and everything like this and stuff. And besides, my good friend Spider-Man followed you to the warehouse and saw you were planning things with your old crew. And he says, with the Sinister Six and everything like this, and then there's a line here where where Fred says that, first of all, contrary to popular belief, the Sinister Six is copper, Dr. Octopus did not go down to the patent office to copyright that or whatever it is.
Yeah,
and so we get to, so Fred said, besides, and I'm going to tell you, Pete, what was really going on. So we go back we get a return of Steve Lieber back, another Superior's Foes Saints, and we see them back, they're finishing their poker game and stuff. And, everyone's accusing Speed Demon of cheating. And so eventually they're in, and then Fred's like, okay, I guess we're going to have one last hand and everything. And then they start breaking out into a song, you gotta know when to hold them, know when to fold them, know when to walk. And then there's an error message. Now, it took me a while to figure out it took me a while to figure out what was going on because it didn't really sink in. Mm-hmm. Especially when Fred takes out his cell phone and starts calling the Tinker. And it turns out that these weren't the real Superior Foes.
Yep.
These were, because Fred has backstabbed them and betrayed them and tried to kill them so many times, they want nothing to do with him. So Fred, out of sheer loneliness, hired the Tinker to build life model decoys of his old crew. And which can do everything they can except sing licensed song.
It's so sad. It's so
sad. It is sad.
It's sad.
It is.
I also think it's a lie, but it's also sad.
Oh yeah. We don't know if he's lying or not. Yeah, but it's lying. It's probably is. He probably is lying because anyone who's read Superior Foes knows that anything Fred says,
he's a huge liar.
He's a huge liar. Yeah, But yeah, but I love the scene anyway because there's the nice little silent panels where he's sitting down, and he's like crying on Speed Demon's shoulder. It's like, oh, I have no friends anymore. And then he sees the cards. He's like, oh, he really was cheating, and tosses them away. And Peter, when he's listening to the story, he's like, oh, I had no idea, Fred. He's like, and Fred's like, oh no, it's okay. I totally deserve it. I don't even know why I was doing this half of the stuff I did portray him anymore, but it's okay. I didn't. And then Peter's like, okay, you know what? I'm probably going to regret this, but Randy and we go to open mic night and, we sometimes go every Sunday. You're welcome to come along. And Fred's like, really? It's like, yeah. So they kind of be friends. And Peter's thinking, and Peter's thinking, you know what? Of all the times that I've screwed up and disappointed people were, like Mary Jane and Aunt May and he's got the, Connor's there and everything, floating heads of guilt stuff. And he's thinking, I've disappointed them so many times, but they were willing to give me second chances. So I should be willing to do the same. And it's a very, oh yeah. And it ends on the, and here's the thing. If the comic had ended at that moment, I would have given this an A+. But then we go to this Kingpin scene. I have a little qualms with this. I'm sure Ashley will too, because we go back to the Kingpin and he's like really upset about how the fact that these C and D list villains fail to get rid of Boomerang. Imagine that. So then he's like, he's pouting, and then we hear the voice, and Kingpin gets scared, but this centipede demon guy, whoever he is, he shows up and he kills Kingpin's two subordinate campaign staff people with his centipedes, and he's like, and they're getting to talking. And apparently Kingpin knows who this guy is, and it's kind of implied that whoever this centipede guy is, that he kind of helped make Kingpin who he is. Which I'm like, and also he essentially tells Kingpin, look, I don't care what you do to Frisbee Man or Boomerang or whatever his name is, but his roommate is off limits.
Yeah.
And Kingpin's like, what's going on? He says, no, you will listen to me. And Kingpin's like mad. He's like, no, you did all this stuff for me, but you didn't do the one thing I asked you to. And the centipede guy says, oh, you mean Vanessa? And shows him Vanessa and everything. And he's, and then he says, oh, there. And the centipede rubs in his face about how the fact is, yeah, that, that's right. You weren't there when Vanessa died. And he's, but I know, here's the thing. I promised you all this stuff that you would like power and all this stuff, but I never, he says, but I don't do that kind of thing, like giving people what they really want. That's not my thing. And it's besides, but there is something you can do for me. And this is where I have to cringe a little bit, because this is where the Kingpin bends the knee to this guy.
You hate it, huh?
Oh, here's the thing. I am acceptable of a lot of comic tropes, but I do not accept trying to make, these supposedly new guys, show up the established character, especially somebody like the Kingpin. I mean, here's the thing. Just like Jonathan Hickman had Dr. Doom bow to his quote unquote mentor, Kingpin shouldn't be bowing to anybody. I mean, now granted, I've got theories about who this guy is, about who this centipede guy is, but even so, sadly, I can't give this an A. I have to give this a B+ for that reason. So
let's go around the horn. Mark, what's your grade?
A+.
A+. JR.
With no name, it's going to be A+.
JR.
Gave it a B.
George.
Oh, A+.
Ashley.
B+.
Straight B for me. Mike, pros.
First of all, I just really liked the whole dynamic that Peter and Fred have in this issue. It's kind of like one of those especially, and it definitely reinforces the idea that just as Peter is kind of the everyman superhero, that Fred is like the everyman villain.
Yeah.
And I liked,
it's a good comparison.
Yeah. And I liked how that the fact that they kind of see this, they kind of reach the similarities and everything like this. And I love the fact that the way that the whole, how they kind of like bond over the fact that they were trying to fight back all these bad villains and everything, and how it's just like, and I like a lot of the action thing, and I absolutely loved that superior foes scene. Even though, yes, as George says, it's probably a complete bullcrap what Fred is saying. We probably, in fact, it's probably 99.9% certainty that it probably is. It's still an effective scene. It's still probably, it's still
it's
just
sad.
kind of
It makes you
it
like
is.
Fred.
It is. It's like one of the. It's probably to me that encapsulates what Superior Foes was all about, because we had scenes like that when that series was going, and where you have this like really kind of off the wall like twist involved that you're thinking about. Well, but that kind of still makes sense. But it kind of has both that that comedy and pathos at once, which was really good. I mean, this is essentially, again, this is like a great. I mean, this is kind of like, again, this feels like a Superior Foes issue, and which is not a bad thing. Which is great.
George and I have talked about this in the past. In the 80s, one of our favorite things was the Sandman turning from villain to hero.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I don't think that's really been explored since Sandman, has it?
Well, if you count Dr. Octopus, which is kind of
I don't think this is going that far. I don't think Boomerang's a good guy.
No.
I just think on some level, Boomerang and Peter or Fred and Peter are friends now.
He's getting better. He's sacrificed himself.
He's Fred, dude. He's
Fred. This is the best way you can kind of describe
the
best way you can describe Fred after this. I mean, he might be an anti-hero at this point, or he might be an anti-villain.
He's a villain.
He's villain.
He is.
True. Yeah. I mean, it's
he can say he's reformed all he wants to, but dude, we know
he's not.
He's Fred.
Fred.
Yeah. You can't trust a word this guy said.
You can still be a villain and jump in front of a weapon blast for a buddy.
Sure.
Yeah.
I think what's important here is that it's showing it's not entirely black and white. We want to have gray.
Oh, yep.
Yeah, it's very gray. I agree.
Mm-hmm.
Felicia is a villain, guy. I mean, she is. I mean, we could try to call her an anti-hero, but she steals shit left and right. I mean,
Ashley, what do you think of that?
I wouldn't call her a villain. Criminal, yes. Villain depends, because that just depends on her function in the story.
Yeah,
she's villain.
Criminal.
She steals jewels.
Breaking the law doesn't make you a villain. It makes you a criminal. A villain is a bit of a different construct.
I agree with Ashley on that. I agree.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm being technical.
It's fine.
Other pros out of the book.
Anyone?
I loved everything about this damn thing. I loved the artwork. I didn't have a problem with Kingpin. This guy's obviously I didn't have a problem with it at all. Here's the thing: if it was like somebody like Hammerhead or somebody like I'd be like, okay, no, I don't see that. But I mean, this guy's really. We've already seen this guy kill Mendelstrom. So I mean, I think that Kingpin, whoever this dude is, he's powerful enough, and he can back up what he says, and he can destroy him. And, he gave him all this stuff he could take away from him. I've never liked the Kingpin being the mayor to begin with. So I liked knowing that it was kind of that it was kind of set up, and it wasn't just oh hey, Lex Luthor's president kind of a thing. Now you know what I mean. So I enjoyed it from that angle, but I mean, like, this guy's clearly, I mean, he's got like these giant ass killer scorpions. How many times is JR, our own JR Fettinger, on this very podcast, keep telling us that every fight Peter and Kingpin have, it ought to just be like, just Fisk getting the shit kicked out of him. This dude has giant ass demon centipedes. What's the Kingpin supposed to do? Start fighting demon centipedes?
Yeah. Yeah, I was going to say, I mean, one of my pros really was to see the Kingpin kind of humbled, because I think one of my problems with the Kingpin, and one reason why I find the Kingpin so boring, is that it's like he always winds up on top. He always comes up smelling like a rose. And like, he's not afraid of Spider-Man. He should be afraid of Spider-Man. I mean, maybe he won't tell Spider-Man, I'm afraid of you, but it's like, wait a minute, this Spider-Man beat you to within an inch of your life, and you're still playing all these games with him, and you're still, it's like your relationship is entirely the same. No, you're only alive because he chose not to kill you. And it's like, even though, like, Norman, for example, gets away with too much, but Norman's crazy, and Norman's like you see that that Norman's going to f something up. That's just kind of the way he is. Kingpin just keeps coming up smelling like a rose too much, and this Mayor of New York thing is a bit too much for me. But I actually kind of liked it to show that yes, it made him more realistic to me. Yes, he's afraid of something. Yes, he might have gotten in over his head. Yes, maybe he didn't figure out all the angles to this. And to me, that makes him a more interesting villain than he has been. The bowing on the knee, I can kind of see where Mike gets a little bit, because he almost seems to do that too easily. But I mean, this guy's coming straight from hell. I mean, it's like the Kingpin is finally saying, whoa, I may have made a bargain. I may have made a bargain.
Like Thanos, is he supposed to like look at him and say, hey, blow me?
Yeah, he just may have realized, whoa, I might have made a deal that
I'm out of
that it wasn't a good one. So in a way, that's kind of what I liked about the issue. And I did like, I think they go too far with the violins for Fred, and I wonder if the Tinker, not only did the Tinker get the fact they can't sing wrong, I mean, did he screw up Herman Schultz's color, for example? I mean,
No,
that's
Superior
to be
foes.
fair. Steve was to be fair. So he did look like that in Superior Foes. That's because that's good to know. That's how they drew him.
It's the same guy. I mean, if it was like a different Shocker, a different guy, but if it's still Herman Schultz, I mean, it's kind of like, wait a minute, how did that happen?
Yeah.
But anyway, no. But I did like the fact that Peter realizes that some of these supervillains, they're not evil, they're bad guys, but some of them are just pathetic. And I see this kind of in real life too. I mean, I'm learning a lot from my daughter. Some people, they're just pathetic. They're losers.
Wow.
Wow.
You just call your daughter pathetic? What?
No.
Oh.
My daughter's job.
Oh. Okay. People that
I
works
was gonna
with.
say,
Okay.
Yeah, the story she tells me. I mean, I've always had a fairly black and white view on crime, but listening to some of the stories she tells us, like, you realize that some people just they're losers.
What does she do again?
She's a probation officer.
Oh,
okay, yeah.
Okay.
Fun.
So she would deal with people like Fred.
Well, yeah. There are some people she hates. They're scumbags. They're liars. They're crooks. They're no good. And there are some people who they can't catch a break. They're just whatever. And I kind of like the fact that Peter is seeing this guy as a human being. Although I think they went a little bit too far, like I said, with the violence. No, I have no friends. Nobody loves me.
That's the thing. If you'd read Superior Foes, though,
But I know that Fred's a liar. But
that's probably
he always tries to make Fred always tries to make himself look like he's the victim and the hero.
All the time. Okay, here's another thing. Isn't Fred Australian? No,
that's the thing.
Mark, you can have it in just a second once I stop arguing. Go ahead, Mark. What were you going to say?
I want to address this lie. Everybody's assuming that Fred's lying here. And I know Fred's a liar, but I'm going to go out on a limb here, right here on the crawl space, and y'all can make the T-shirts later saying Mark was right. We're going to see a little bit later on Black Ant trying to sing and freezing up, and then you're going to know that I was right, that Fred was telling the truth all along. There you go. I'm putting it out there. Take that, Neil Bogenreiter.
Trust Fred.
Wait a minute. We still have boxes of Chris was right T-shirts that we haven't gotten rid of. We're not going to start printing Mark was right just yet.
We could just tape or little patch over it or something like that.
There we go.
Right.
Cons. What do we got for cons?
Well, I wasn't done with Pro.
Okay.
I wasn't done with
Pro. Hit it, George.
I liked, because and again, talking about the Kingpin, and we saw him with one villain earlier. We saw him with Mendelstrom, and then we saw him now with the Kingpin, basically forcing the Kingpin to commit or to submit. I like this is a lot more subtle approach than what we would have gotten in the last 10 years. In the last 10 years, Dan Slott's like, well, I need to show this villain is so powerful. Oh, I know. I'll have him beat up every superhero in the damn universe and put him in some kind of goo prison.
Mm-hmm.
Here, that's not that. We have a powerful villain, and we're supposed to understand that this villain is powerful.
Mm-hmm.
So it's doing it a lot more subtly, and it's not doing it in a new villain shows up and kicks the Hulk's ass.
That's
There's like a control kind of thing. There's like a power, an unspoken power, and that's been refreshing.
The writer is assuming that you can interpret the dialogue, as opposed to having all visuals.
And we haven't had that sort of subtlety in Amazing Spider-Man for a decade.
Okay. Sure. All right. Now can I
hit your rebuttal.
I got a slightly rebuttal thing.
Oh.
George, you make an excellent point. You do.
I know I do.
Yeah, you do. I'm not gonna argue with. I'm not gonna fault you on your logic there, because that is a good point there. But I will say this though. I mean, since this is a new guy, and since the Kingpin is kind of an established character, it almost feels like it seemed like it was very out of character for the Kingpin to submit, to basically bend the knee and everything, to basically bow for this guy.
Well, we don't know what this guy has over the Kingpin right now, though. We don't.
Okay, that is true. I mean, I'm just saying the Kingpin this Kingpin is a guy who usually has been dealt with the likes of Loki and Doctor Doom, if you're talking about Acts of Vengeance and stuff like that. I just think that it just felt a little bit too like out of character for him to be so. I mean, yeah, he'd probably be in, obviously the Vanessa scene stuff, like he's showing like, he's kind of angry. But I think he would be more defiant and angry. Not like he's trying to physically attack the guy because he knows it would be suicide, but just the fact that was willing to bend down to this guy was thinking,
well, this guy's got giant centipedes, Mike. What, like demon centipedes? What's he supposed to do? Tell him to F off, give him the bird,
I know,
and then get.
I know that.
These aren't regular centipedes that don't kill people,
Yeah, okay.
What Ashley said something. What?
I said maybe Kingpin just really hates bugs.
Maybe. Okay.
It's like Indiana Jones. He hates bugs.
There's nothing in the scene saying Kingpin likes doing this.
No, that's true. That is true too. Now, I will say this. Now, in terms of now, I will say this. It's kind of a strange, even though it's con. I will say this. It does make me more intrigued about who the centipede guy is. I've get about if what is this guy? I know, but it does some kind of demon thing like this. It also, interestingly enough, it kind of does have a very interesting One More Day connection because, why? Because let me ask you this, folks. Why did Peter and MJ make the deal with Mephisto in the first place?
Because the joke was Ada.
Besides goes up.
Save Aunt May.
To save Aunt May. Why? Why did they need to save Aunt May? What was
shot?
Who or how did she get shot?
By the Kingpin.
Yeah, it was the Kingpin, yeah.
Yeah, that's right. It was the Kingpin's hitman. So I don't know if this is maybe Spencer's, and this is another. Who knows if he's doing something with One More Day with this?
Yeah, but he already did it. Yeah, but he did it to Mendel Strom too, and Mendel Strom didn't jack all to do with One More Day.
Yeah, I know. But again, so. But yeah, I know it's a loose thing and stuff. But I just thought it was interesting to kind of think about that.
To address the thing, what could Spencer do? Could he Could he have Peter and Mary Jane say, "Hey, we used to be married, and we've been separated for 10 years." It would be.
It'd be weird.
Most awkward conversation.
Do we want that? I mean, do we want it back to be married again?
Yes, hell yeah. Oh God, yes, yes.
Okay.
Yes, I mean we're not gonna get that.
Suddenly realizing and having a conversation about it and being like, okay.
Yeah, that would be a very awkward conversation.
I think
it's
to them,
it would. Yeah,
I think to them, I'm sorry, Ashley, I didn't mean to talk over you. Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. I'm just saying it's the road there more than the actual result that I'm concerned with.
Well, it would be a good source of drama for them if it did come up.
Where they are right now in their relationship, having just. I mean, basically, under Spencer, I mean, the gist of their relationship is, yes, we're supposed to be together. We've been kind of stupid.
Yeah.
I think suddenly them learning that they were married would make all the all the damn sense to them. I think they would be like, wow, okay, this makes sense now.
Let's go get hitched again. Is that what we?
In a perfect universe, yes, that's where I am.
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like that could actually kind of push them apart because they're suddenly coming back together again and kind of getting past those the bridges that they had almost burned in themselves, and they're rebuilding everything. And so to suddenly have it jumping into marriage, that could be like, okay, that's a little too much too fast.
With the way they are now, with the way Spencer has set them up now, with the things that they said to one another in the first Spencer issue.
That's true. Yeah.
I don't see that. I don't see them being that weak of a couple. I see them. This is as strong as they've been since Straczynski.
Yeah.
So I think what Spencer is trying to tell us is that this is our status quo for Spencer.
I don't think they will get married again. But what I want is Spider-Man to get one over on Mephisto and to win that fight that's been going on for 10 years.
The fact that Mephisto somehow undo that his ass kicked for this after 10 years is ridiculous.
Ben Reilly just punched Mephisto in the face. Spider-Man has not done that.
No.
There's a long list of heroes that when faced with the same thing, went ahead and just socked Mephisto right in the kisser. Spider-Man should have been one of them.
Yeah, he should be first in line, basically. But again, we don't. But again, even though I kind of thought about the Kingpin scene, I kind of have my disagreements and stuff, about it. I am intrigued about who this centipede guy. I am kind of like curious about what his agenda, what his full agenda is, and stuff like that. So I am, So even though I thought, I'm not sure if I'm really like the idea of Kingpin bending the knee, I am intrigued.
It's just too obvious. It's Mephisto. It's just
it isn't.
Well,
It's not. I don't think it is
another
Mephisto,
demon,
but
I don't think
if it's another demon, then it could easily come out to be where Mephisto has to team up with Spider-Man in order to defeat this guy. That maybe
What?
this guy's making some move against Mephisto, and so now you
could
got.
be.
Then we're getting beyond a Spider-Man.
Yeah,
story.
we are.
Well,
Yeah,
no,
I
And then
don't
it
know.
feels like this guy
what
clearly
they-
has a strong connection and affinity towards Peter. He's like, no, spare him. Like I've got
what they could do with this
background
is
there.
maybe okay. What they could do with this is maybe I don't know. Maybe it could be retcon that maybe it was never Mephisto. That it was actually this guy pretending to be Mephisto.
Well, the thing is, though, I mean,
I don't know.
One More Day had so many other problems other than just undoing the marriage. I mean, it was and it was such an insulting story. I mean, the idea of Peter and Mary Jane, you know, even if they were married again, that still wouldn't fix One More Day. I mean, One More Day eviscerated our hero. I mean, and the whole thing about, you know, again, you know, Peter had made all these decisions. They were stupid decisions, but then he enters a deal with Mephisto and they're all wiped away. That's poor writing. I mean, that's you can't do that. You can't free and the fact that Peter and Mary Jane don't remember they made this deal. They made a decision and they're completely free from the consequences of it because they don't remember it. So yeah, I was about to say, I don't even know if we want to go near that because One More Day has so many other problems.
We want Spider-Man to beat Mephisto is the bottom line.
I want Spider-Man and Mary Jane to be married.
Yeah.
I mean, bottom line, that's that. Marvel's not going to give that to us. And this time, 227060 in our YouTube chat brought up a good point. Cause he was talking to Neil and he said, remember DC fixed Superman by reverse rebooting him. That's absolutely true. Yep. The only difference here is, and the reason that's not going to happen here is because DC was willing to admit they screwed up. Marvel, as far as we've come under Cebulski, we are leagues beyond where we were with Quesada or Alonso. Right. Marvel's still not going to do that.
Right. I mean, the issue one was probably as close to apology about One More Day as we're probably going to get.
It really was. Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
I mean, Marvel needs to admit it was a bad. Here's what I can't understand. They won't admit that it was a bad story. This is the thing. It's not the fact that it had an outcome we didn't like. It was an insulting, appalling, bad story. And that's why Straczynski abandoned it. I mean, Straczynski was going to undo the whole marriage thing too. You know, he wasn't going to give us what we wanted exactly, but he was going to do it, I think, a little bit more logically. I mean, here you have people like, you know, Quesada and Brevoort who won't admit that it was horrible storytelling. Yep. That's what I want to see them admit. You know, and they won't do that. So to me,
I'm sorry, Jay. I didn't mean to interrupt you. You finish.
No. I pretty well made my point.
I think though that the fact that Peter and Mary Jane are together, and like you said, you know, all the things I said about that first issue, especially with the read between the lines writing that was going on there, that's as close to them coming out. That's for us. We can take that as them admitting that they screwed up.
Yeah,
they've been screwing up. I mean, it's not good enough. Yes, I agree with you. They should be able to. They should do what Jeff Johns and DC did and say, "Yeah, we screwed up a lot of things. Sorry, sorry, we screwed up. Here we're fixing."
But it's, you know, here's the thing. I mean, again, I guess I don't want to get off on too much of a tangent, but it's like when they brought Bucky back. You know, I mean, we were thinking, "Oh my God, that's going to be blasphemous bringing Bucky back." You know, and it worked. The story worked. The way the story was told worked. You could have split Peter and Mary Jane up, and you could have done it. But not that way. And that's just what I can't forgive. Not the fact that it had an outcome I didn't like, but that it just completely destroyed all the characters and how they would normally have behaved to fit somebody's almost childish agenda.
It's not almost.
You know, I mean, this was just
it was done to stroke an ego.
It was a petty agenda
to get it back on track for cons.
Oh, Brad's getting frustrated with us.
Let's go back to cons. Do we have any cons out of the issue? I have one. There's not enough Spider-Man. It was very much a Fred story and a Kingpin story.
Yeah, I knew you were going to say that.
And it did humanize Fred. It made you care about Fred, but there wasn't enough Peter Parker / Spider-Man in the book. That's why I knocked it down from an A to a B. Anybody else have a con?
The coloring.
I'm noticing a lot of flashbacks and stuff in the book, and I didn't know why we had a recap of what happened just the previous issue.
Because
It
every
was
issue
not
is
too
somebody's
much
first.
Yeah, but we have recap pages.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but
I
even
agree. It's
before
kind of
I get too
redundant.
annoyed by it, it was really quick. It was just literally like 4 panels. I know there'd been a lot of that, like in all the previous issues, and it was becoming a bit of I don't know, maybe it's just part of Spencer's style, but that was more of a minor irritation than
It's
real
kind of a throwback before there was recap issues where Stan would try to recap what happened previously, etc. Other cons besides me? Okay.
Yeah, the coloring.
This is a glorious time.
He said the color. What's wrong with the
What's
coloring?
wrong with the coloring? Yeah.
Yeah, this is a lighthearted arc here. The previous arc was more serious and had those bright colors and very crisp, clean colors. Here's dark and kind of grainy, and I didn't think it worked as well. In that panel with Mary Jane and Aunt May in it, and that Aunt May, I can't tell if that's Quicksilver or Aunt May or just an old black cat. I mean, I don't know.
An old black cat.
That's probably more Ramos than the colorist, actually.
Yeah, that doesn't that's just my second one. There we go with that.
Yeah.
All right. I'm ready to move on if you guys are. Okay, Ashley has the last issue we're going to review. I got the variant cover because I think it looks better. The Delato art with Spider-Man ripping the symbiote off. I think that looks like a great cover. By the way, this is written by the new writer of the Miles Morales book.
Yep.
So, all right, Ashley, take me through this one. I picked you to review this one because there's a lot of Black Cat in it.
I'll get to that.
Okay.
Here we go.
All right. This ought to be good.
This is the Amazing Spider-Man Volume 5 annual called The Ties That Bind. They give us what they call an untold tale in the history of the Amazing Spider-Man, featuring the now dubbed alien symbiote suit instead of the black suit. I always knew it as the black suit, so I don't know where alien suit's coming from. Maybe I'm the one who's out of
Because it's an alien.
I know it's an alien, but it's also
It's an alien. It came from an alien planet. They found it on another planet.
I'm not disputing that fact. I'm just saying I always knew it as the black suit. Alien suit Spider-Man sounds weird. Okay, so we open with the recap of Secret Wars, and Spider-Man's role in that, how he came across the symbiote, and found the black suit and donned it and everything. But we get this from the symbiote's perspective, and he tells us all about his new friend, which is what he calls Peter. He calls him the friend. And so we kind of get a day in the life of how symbiote came to lovingly creep over to his bed and wrap around his body in his sleep to help him get through his problems. So we open the story proper with Peter in his new black costume, showing Felicia his the new threads, and she's commenting on it, saying, he's telling her that it's you just got all these new upgrades and everything. I don't have to refill my web shooters, but it responds to my thoughts. It's kind of got a sentience. It's just like, okay, that's kind of creepy. Maybe just go take it to Reed Richards. We have some innuendo, and then the mistake of then having refer to his body as Peter's meat.
We're kind of losing Ashley. Ashley's internet's kind of dying.
I'm dying.
Slowly.
Oh.
Your video is froze.
Okay.
Frozen.
Yep.
Frozen.
Frozen.
Let
it go. What? George is singing Frozen.
I didn't sing at all. No, I was.
Oh, I'm sorry. That was JR. Is Ashley back?
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yeah, I can hear you. Just no video.
Okay. Well, I'll just continue talking, and maybe one day I'll move. Okay. Well, yeah. So there.
Thank you, Ashley, for making me not feel so bad. How's that? I know you did that.
So a little impromptu date where they're looking over. Hammerhead's got some operation going down in a warehouse, and so they come and crash down. But going back to Peter's life, it looks like after Secret Wars, it's kind of, screwed up some things. He has to suddenly awkwardly explain this absence where he was suddenly gone for, a couple of weeks. No one can get a hold of him, and he can't really explain why he was gone. So it just comes off as excuses. Randy's yelling at him, and, his job's on the line. Aunt May's really disappointed in him and, says, I don't like it when you lie to me, Peter. And so the symbiote notices this and says that, yes, the friend's meat is brave and strong, but his mind is full of conflict. So he decides he's going to...
The meat was a lot stronger when it was with the black cat, but anyway, that's...
Oh, my goodness. Go ahead, Ashley. We've offended Ashley. She's just... Oh, she's back.
Okay, I'm back.
She's back
it was
again.
short-lived. It was
Here,
short-lived.
I'm going to eject this Ashley and bring this Ashley in.
We had to clone Ashley there for a minute.
We did. Okay, so you're talking about the meat.
The friend's meat.
The friend's meat.
I want to talk about Peter's meat.
Meat off my bone.
By the way, the symbiote calling humans meat was just odd in this issue.
They do eat brains, Brad.
You can't do that after you just have an innuendo. It automatically all becomes wrong.
I know.
Oh.
JR's to blame. I blame JR.
I mean, the whole story reads like it's an alien condom.
Wow.
Wow.
It really does.
Wow.
Okay, so that's
Good night,
perfect,
America.
No, it is a perfect timing. We have the symbiote crawling over him and saying, "We embrace him. Take hold of him. The friend has worn us. Now we will wear the friend."
Friend has worn us.
Like a condom.
George can spin that into one of his sales pitches.
I think I gave this to Zach last Christmas.
It says, "We will do so much together."
So happy
By the way,
together.
Grant Alford says, JR, no. Mark, your boy is offended.
His boy's too young. I think your boy's too young for this now, Grant. Or Grant, not Grant.
Mark.
How old is Grant anyway?
He's in college.
He's in college.
Oh, well, he's older than mine then. Yeah.
By the way, I'm sorry to interrupt, Ashley. There is a debate. Who is older, JR or Mark? How old are you, Mark?
How's that even a debate?
What?
Oh. All right. Whatever. Go back. I'm sorry,
because
Ashley.
I act so young.
Right.
So, Symbiote
Ashley
decides to
has the
help out Peter with his mental turmoil by making it so he doesn't have to make decisions, and he's just going to wear him at night and do what he would do anyways. He decides he wants to, he loves his friend so much, so he's going to do what he would do and make him proud and protect people who are getting hurt.
This sounds like Slash.
Out of people when he does. So after nearly killing someone who, stole a woman's purse, he goes back and, Peter's like, Jesus, how long did I sleep? Slept till 5 p.m. Great. MJ comes by to check in on him. They kind of have a talk, and he tells her what all's been happening, and he kind of flashes back to all the good times they had together, and he kind of he misses what they had. And the symbiote senses that and senses him still dwelling on all of his problems and everything that's, kind of pulling at his conscience and his life, and decides he's going to continue to make him forget so he can be the strongest, that he can be the only person he needs to rely on. Well, not person.
So, like, when he says that Peter's dwelling on his own skin, does that mean that Peter's Jewish? And that he's forget it.
Well, he is a Jew,
Just stop you right
I literally just face palmed.
They are the monster.
I literally just face palmed.
J.R. Fettinger's a goddamn monster.
Yes.
Well, he was missing his old skin. I just thought maybe
Stop.
Oh, yeah.
Go. Oh my gosh.
Oh,
Can I go to bed tonight? Seriously.
Guys, the movie's on, Ashley.
Go ahead,
We
Ashley.
need to have good timing with the panels because we have Peter jumping up in bed screaming, "No!"
I just wonder if he had a bad bar mitzvah or something.
Oh,
you know? I mean, just,
I'm doing it again.
So he wakes up having nightmares from all the stress that the symbiote's outings are causing him, because he's pretty much turning every night into a bloodbath. And he wakes up and stop biting my foot, Bogey. And Felicia's there watching him sleep, channeling her inward Edward Cullen. And he's like, "Where are you? You're watching me sleep." And she's just like, she doesn't answer. She says, "Oh, you should lock your window." He did lock his window. So she comes in to kind of have a little heart to heart with him, see how he's doing, and talk it out. And she says, "You know, you're even scaring me. You need to go to the doctor. Like, you need to check this out. This isn't normal." And he starts realizing, you know what? All my time is going to sleep. I'm just like asleep all the time. And so the next night, when I want to say Venom, when the symbiote goes out and wearing his body so intimately, he runs into this one kid who's like, in the middle of a shootout between some thugs, and he's just kind of getting caught in the crossfire when the symbiote comes in, beats them all up. The kid says, "Well, hey, dude, you can't be Spider-Man. Spider-Man wouldn't do that. So what are you? You're trying to be a superhero?" And so he kind of takes him under his wing, shows him like, okay, well, he asks a favor from him. Like, if Spider-Man's here, I've got to, I don't want to walk home. And he gets a lift from Spider-Man. On their way,
Spider Uber.
Or no, Uber, since we can't say Uber apparently.
Oh, Uber. Yep.
And so they go by. There's a apartment that's burning down. There's an old man. He's trapped in the window, and so his little Jiminy Cricket here shows up like, "Hey, you understand?"
Jiminy Cricket, little Jiminy Cricket.
Hey, if you want to be a superhero, then you got to help him out. You understand me?
Gosh.
And so Symbiote's like, "Well, okay. I don't want to get near the fire. I don't like that, but I guess I can make this work." And it's just a little spider hammock down for the guy.
Fire bad.
The guy jumps in the hammock. And he says, "Okay, you got," his Jiminy Cricket guy tells him, "Okay, you got this. I think you've got what it takes to be a hero. I believe in you. You can do it." But as the symbiote swings off after his little pep talk from his conscience, it looks like he dropped him off right in front of Hammerhead and his men, who realize, "Oh, okay, Spider-Man, so we're gonna get to know each other, you and I." Then I'm a little confused about the time here. I guess just like the next night, and the poor kid has been tied up in a warehouse and held at gunpoint all night. The symbiote has gotten kind of attached to him and is like, "Hey, this guy's he's got a really strong will, that even though he doesn't have this strong meat that my friend does." He's got a really strong will, and so I want to spend more time with him. And he gets some kind of
Meat is too strong.
Danger. And so he rushes. Bogey, stop it. He rushes over to where he's being held in the warehouse and attacks Hammerhead and his men. Hammerhead's got some kind of like sonic gun that he blasts him with. And it just happened. He says it's called the Slagger. And he's going to use it we don't figure out what he's going to use it for. He just blasts him with it. And it just happens to be something that will, kind of wound the symbiote. And it hisses, says, it's in fear of being destroyed. And so the second it gets a chance, Bogey, stop. Hang on.
Enigma says that Bogey wants to spend more time with the meat. The meat is warm.
The Bogey wants the meat.
Okay.
Bogey needs meat.
Okay, so then symbiote closes on a Hammerhead the second he's distracted, because the kid goes up behind him, unplugs his Slagger pack, and they have a little fight, and it looks like Hammerhead could come out as could beat him down, but it's the symbiote taking over Spider-Man. He's not holding back at all. damn near turned saying, "We're going to eliminate this." And his conscience comes back and tells him, before you can kill him, no, you can't do that. Let's just go. Let's just get out of here. And so he listens to his new friend, and they leave. As Hammerhead gets back up, and everyone's just kind of like, "What happened?" So Hammerhead insists, like, "No, that wasn't Spider-Man. This didn't happen. We're not talking about this."
I love that part.
So
Yep.
they go back. Symbiote takes Peter back to Ben and has learned that, maybe in trying to help my friend, I've been hurting him. I haven't really, I haven't been upholding his values. I'm causing more problems for him. This is
I must have
subtle
hit
to think
these
about.
values.
And so he decides to go, and he realizes, symbiote realizes it's been overworking Peter.
Make it his meat.
I'm not saying it.
Making his what, JR?
He said
His
making
meat
his meat week.
Meat week. Good
He's
God.
been
So it's kind of like so we need more Mary Jane and Felicia in there to strengthen the meat. But anyway,
I'm finding my tongue. So, anyways, as soon as Peter's awake, he goes over. He takes Felicia's advice and is like, "Okay, no, I need to go talk to Reed Richards about this already." And that's when we have a moment where he's like, "No, this is a parasite. It's feeding off of you." Peter realizes it's not going to come off of him, and it's fighting to cling on to him. So Reed zaps it with a sonic blaster, shreds the symbiote off of him, and symbiote's feelings are hurt. Why does the friend reject us? We've been hurt. Our only friend has been torn from us. Our friend hates us now, and the friend thinks he's done with us. And we have our closing panel with the symbiote in his little containment cell looking all angry and goopy. And he says, "But we are not done with him."
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
George, didn't Stegron have a meat gun?
Yes, Stegron had. Yes, this is.
then why weren't there a bunch of little Stegrons in?
The genius of Stegron, Brad, is a level, such a level that yes, he devised a gun that actually put meat on dinosaur bones and made them like turn back into living dinosaurs.
Yeah.
That's how advanced the technology that Vincent Stegron has at his disposal.
That's funny. So let's go around the horn. Ashley, what is your grade for this annual number 43?
C.
Okay.
Honestly, a C minus.
C minus. Mike.
Like probably give it maybe about a pretty high C plus, maybe.
Okay, Mark.
A minus.
Woo.
Okay.
JR.
I was about to say, Mark, message retracted. What was that message? But anyway, I gotta give this a D plus. This is bad. This is just really bad.
George.
Do you really think I bought this?
It's got venom.
Hi, I'm George Berryman. Have we met?
I will give it a D. Ashley, what is your pros?
I think I liked the narrative voice that they gave the symbiote, other than the meat. It was really consistent. It kind of gave it a sympathetic voice.
So you're saying the meat was well done? No, I'm sorry.
Oh.
But yeah, they were able to be really consistent with it, and it was a good way to stylize it, and I like that. I like the perspective they chose to go with.
Yeah. Pros for the rest of the group. Mark, you gave it an A?
Yeah, I enjoyed the story. I mean, I
Okay.
didn't like the art and stuff, but I mean, I enjoyed the story. It was told from. It did what everything I wanted an untold story to do. Untold story. It gave more information without changing continuity.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it didn't have Gwen Stacy's eyes open. With her thinking there at the last minute and stuff like that. It was a good story, and it filled in that one thing we've never heard anything about. What did the symbiote do at night?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You know what
Yeah,
this story? You know what this reminded me of? I mean, I'm sure some of you, more of these more experienced readers. I believe there was a story involving Gene DeWolf and the symbiote, like during that period, like how wasn't there? I forgot what
Yeah,
It was in web
It
spinners.
was a Dan Slott story, and it
Oh.
sucked.
Oh, really?
No, I thought it was
Yeah,
in web spinners with Ron Friend
No,
and
it
Tom
was
DeFalco.
it was like a backup of an annual or whatever. It was a stupid story.
Do not
Oh,
want.
okay.
I don't
Okay.
remember that.
But I do agree with Mark and Ashley on the part about that. Yeah, that this it's a nice, interesting perspective. Like when you're reading the symbiote's voice, and it's interesting how he's calling him, calling Peter friend. I'm like thinking, oh, that's actually kind of a very fitting moniker, and how that. And it's you kind of understand where it's coming from, and also as possessive as it is, and how it thinks and all the time it's trying to beat up all these criminals and says, oh, the friend will be so proud of me when I'm basically pummel these guys to death and everything. It's it's almost like you definitely you get the sense that that this is a genuine character of this, and you never really get that sometimes with the symbiote before this, and I kind of did appreciate that. It does have kind of the unique voice to it, and I also like the touch that it's how it's that the people are recognized enough that this is not that even that this is just not Spider-Man, because the way he acts and everything like this, and so so it's like I thought those were
Other pros.
The color. I want to do the coloring again.
You like the coloring?
Don't you roll your eyes at me? Yeah, I like the dotted look in the background. To make it look like the old ink,
like an old comic. Okay, I didn't notice that. The artwork was so poor I didn't notice it.
Yeah.
Oh, the artwork was horrendous.
The artwork was atrocious.
Or it was bad. That was why I got.
You would think for charging an extra $1 you would get better artwork, wouldn't you?
Well, this is also an annual too. I mean, annuals have never been.
Brad, it's Marvel. When has that ever been the case?
Let's say you've never had the A-team hardly on an annual, have you?
That's right.
No, you definitely don't. Ashley Cons, what didn't you like about it? I bet you there's some Felicia talk.
Yeah. I have a few cons to just kind of list, and then we'll get to the Felicia talk. So first,
Ashley has legitimate concerns.
The art was awful. I mean, there were some parts I think some parts of it worked for the atmosphere they were going for, just kind of the more muted colors, the sketchy with the lines. It was not quite as defined, but the arms looked so weird. There was just some bad anatomy going on here.
Mm-hmm.
Not just the meat.
Jay, you better watch it. I'm going to give you another weird spider news. Oh wait, I was already going to.
Another thing that bothered me was the brutality was told and never really shown. We keep getting to, oh my god, he's killing him, and they're really. It honestly looked the same to me as some of his Spider-Man's regular, drive-by villain.
That goes back to the artist. He can't convey the difference.
It was just it was only ever told to us like, oh my god, you're gonna kill him, and I'm like, oh no, his arm's covered in ketchup. The launches didn't
Jimmy Cricket, what should I do with this meat?
covered in ketchup.
Covered in ketchup.
Well, gosh, Pinocchio.
All you got to do is lie, Pinocchio, and you got enough.
Oh,
meat.
JR.
This is a really weird fanfic now.
Pinocchio, Pleasure Island. Whatever you do,
Pinocchio meets symbiotes on Meat Island. Yeah.
Pinocchio. And the symbiote's motivation was really. It didn't make sense to me. He's looking at how Peter's having all this internal conflict and troubles dealing with the more emotional internal parts of his life. And so he decides to wear him and beat people up. Like, that's not helping. That's not helping his problems at all. Why are you doing this? This thing doesn't relate to the other.
Because it's an alien. It doesn't understand human interactions. No. It doesn't understand it's giving him probably
all it understands is meat.
All it says is meat.
Meat friends.
It's like I want to protect the meat and wrap around his clothes and snuggle
please
like
don't
saran
say
wrap.
friend.
No,
My
it's
meat
embrace-
friends.
I want to cover the meat.
embrace the
That's
meat.
what he wants.
He wants to keep him well preserved and
Oh
fresh.
my gosh.
Oh my god.
Well, what's the expiration date on my meat friend?
Probably after you gave
Okay.
your wife the kid.
And then what really bothered me was the completely revisionist stuff with Felicia.
All right, let's hear it.
Yeah.
What'd they do?
So, I liked the rapport they established between them, where she's kind of more of a
What a cliffhanger.
It's
What?
pulling the superior foes on us with the
She's
frozen
freezing.
LMDs. Like the
Oh, there
LMD.
you are. You're back. You're back.
Okay. So I don't know where I left off, but I was saying I like the rapport that they tried to establish between them, where she's more invested in his emotional well-being, and she's coming in to check on him and watch him sleep. And she's kind of giving him advice, like, hey, you should get that looked at, essentially. I'm not gonna say it.
You should have your meat checked out by the butcher.
Yes. I knew someone was going to say it. Well, the rapport is good, but it was completely revisionist, and it completely overlooks that, yes, Felicia was flawed in that stage of their relationship. There were a lot of issues with their relationship where it was not healthy. You cannot just erase her flaws and have this new revisionist look at it, where suddenly she, as 227 pointed out in the comments, she initially liked the black suit. She thought it was cool and sexy. She didn't have any problems like, that's creepy.
That's true.
I don't remember her being that concerned about his well-being either. It's
Yeah.
like what you said, yeah.
And then especially what got me is she never cared about going to see him. She would not look at him with his mask off.
Right.
So going into like knowing where he lives and going in to see him as Peter Parker and not as Spider-Man, yeah, it's sweet. I would have preferred it, but you are erasing one of her main character flaws in that stage of her arc. You
Yeah.
can't
Yep.
just look past that. That is a
Revisionist. I agree.
disservice to her character.
Yep.
Very true. Very true.
Mhm.
I didn't even think about that. I could barely tell when he had the mask on and off due to the bad art. Did I say that again?
Wow.
Yeah. So in other words, he should have kept that meat well wrapped up so you wouldn't have to look at that.
Just don't keep it out. You need to put it in the fridge.
Where's
Yeah.
the beef?
Where's the beef?
Where's the beef? Yeah.
Okay. I think
Felicia completely. Well, it was nice to see her. She was just once again completely out of character, and so I'm like, just don't understand her character. She is a flawed woman.
Yeah.
There are some great things about her that I love, but she's also not the best person to be in a relationship with.
Right.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if you're going to do a flashback tale, try to get the main points right. You know, Felicia can't stand looking at Peter Parker, needs a mask.
Mhm.
The symbiote has never said meat this
Yeah.
much.
No.
You said brains.
Brains,
Yeah,
brains, yeah.
I'm going to eat your meat. That he's never said that. You don't want
This is the lewdest show we've done in a while.
Oh man.
Let me tell
Dude,
you
I
right
didn't
now.
make them. We didn't make
I'm-
that up. They say.
I changed my
They
grade
say
to
it like-
just because of the show.
Oh my gosh.
No, the-
Ashley,
the
any
other-
other thoughts on that one?
I guess I could leave with the zing saying that issue makes me want to go vegetarian, but that would be okay.
I feel like we've milked the meat enough on this one.
Yeah, I was
Yeah.
well. The other one con I do have that that was kind of annoyed by Jiminy Cricket in this, so especially with the uses bra. Like he goes, "Hey, bra, you shouldn't do that, bra." You know, like you know, yeah, he kept. You know,
Mike,
Yeah,
it's
that-
bruh, not bra.
bra.
It's
Oh,
bruh. Hey, bruh.
Hey, bra.
You don't
Hey,
go up
yeah.
to another dude and say, "What's up, bra?"
It was
Bra.
yeah.
If you go up and say "bra" to a man, he might take it differently. You might.
Don't say
Yeah,
it to a
okay.
woman either. Don't.
Yeah, okay.
That's
Yeah, well,
conversations. not-
Well, see,
not
I
really
don't say bra. I don't say bra speak.
Yeah,
Bruh.
and at the time this is supposed to be said in, they would have just said bro.
Yeah. Yeah,
Nobody
it's supposed to be set in the 80s. Yeah, they don't.
But
say
yeah,
this.
the guy kind of, it's just the dialogue of that part just kind of really
I
annoyed
would
me.
agree.
Like, trying to make this guy trying to just sound like he was too hip.
If we're doing a flashback, do the dialogue flashback. Don't do the modern flashback writing.
It's meat. Done.
Yeah.
Da, 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 da.
It's the meat you can't beat. All right.
Yes, Joshua Selson, I should know my slang. I'm very bad for that.
Yeah. Good job, bro. Any other cons? My con is Mike not knowing the difference between a bra and a bro.
Good night, America.
I want to. I mean, I want to say something, and I don't want to drag the meat thing out anymore. But really, I really won't even tend.
Please don't drag the meat out.
This is the case of really bad editing. I mean,
yeah.
I mean, it's you think. I mean, look what we're doing. We've the whole it threw the focus off the whole story, you know. And you're thinking an editor gets this, and it's like and sees these repeated references, and doesn't send it back. I mean, what is it? I mean, what's it? I mean, I think we've seen notoriously poor editing over the last several years. Yeah, you know, and I don't, like I said, I don't want to focus, but it's like that when you're sitting there reading that with all the jokes aside, you're sitting there going, "How did this pass by? How did this pass by?" And then, you know, it's like they pulp all the issues of Spider-Man Earth X because Al Milgrom writes, you know, a subtle diss of Bob Harris on these library books, and that you see
they catch this, they catch this.
Yeah, they catch that and pulp every issue, but then you have this, and it's like, no, I don't get it. But yeah, the Jiminy, I had Ashley called him Jiminy Cricket was just perfect because this is a really this is a really stupid character.
Really stupid. I agree.
Well, if it was a grown man or a child,
the art can't tell the difference.
Cogent editing would have been, you know, for the editor to make notes on the script and send it back. You know, like things in the the margins that say the assholes on Crawl Space podcast will eat this up,
like it's a meat sandwich. Yeah,
you know, let's trim about 75% of the meat.
Yeah.
By the way, what do editors? I mean, without getting what do editors do if not this kind of stuff? I mean, what are they for if not this kind of stuff? To catch
maybe misspellings? I don't know.
Well, you got to remember. Okay, we got to remember though that this is Nick. This is the guy supposedly editing these books is Nick Lowe.
No,
and he's
Nick Lowe is not listed as the editor. I don't think on this one. Not.
Oh, is he not?
Actually, I think he is.
No, it's
Okay.
No, it's somebody else. I want to say.
Oh, okay. Okay, because normally he's
on the last page.
Yeah, because normally because I don't know if it is him.
Because I already saw somebody talking about this damn thing.
So.
Okay.
Another thing, didn't we just have Annual 42 in the same year? Is this like 2 annuals in 1 year?
So, well, it's a new volume.
I feel like we reviewed an annual recent, not like.
Well, it was after Clone Conspiracy because Ned came back. Remember, that was Annual 42. So this is the second annual in 1 year.
Yeah, getting back on the editor thing, it says Mark Basso, editor, Nick Lowe, executive editor.
Oh, okay.
Executive editor.
Yeah, I thought I'd heard something like that.
So you've had 2 editors that this passed through, JR.
Well, I mean, executive editor probably means he didn't read it. You know,
he didn't probably read it. He just kind of signed. He just signed. Okay, fine, just shipping it off to the printers or whatever. So.
Brad, you were right. We had the volume 4 annual 42 back in February.
See, February and October, 2 annuals.
Jesus,
September actually.
Oh yeah, September. This came out.
Okay.
All right. Final thoughts on
it's another commercial for the Venom movie. I mean, it's that's another thing that's kind of aggravating about it. It's like, let's tell a Venom story that really nobody wants.
Yeah.
Any other thoughts on this issue for final thoughts? All right. Final thoughts around the horn, Mike.
Well, I now have some. Well, no, I won't say anything meat related now because. You know, because that was.
Are you afraid it will spoil?
Yeah, actually. No, but
spoilers on me.
Yeah, no. But here's the thing. I think we had some 3 great comics from Nick Spencer. I still, even though I was kind of slightly down on some of the things, I still think Nick Spencer's run he's absolutely killing it on this book.
Yeah.
And it's a really treat. Looking forward to the next issue. I'm sure, and everything else. And it's been a while since I've said that. So,
Dark Mark, final thoughts, sir.
Well, I said earlier that Swarm didn't reply to my son on Twitter when he congratulated him on making the Spider-Man game, but I think maybe Swarm listens to our podcast. Got a message from Grant saying that he just got her saying congratulations aren't in order until Spider-Man appears in a Swarm game.
So Swarm just wrote back. Is that what you said?
Yeah, Swarm wrote back to Grant.
Wait. Swarm has a Twitter?
Yeah.
Where were you? We were just talking about this. Yeah. Yeah. Swarm has a Twitter, and Grant is tweeting Swarm. Yeah. This came up when we were talking about what a group of robots is. They're called a swarm, aren't they?
Yep.
mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't hear the Twitter part. I'm sorry.
All right. Let's see. Ashley, final thoughts.
Oh, I actually just remembered this. This is something I wanted to talk about. One of my favorite YouTube channels, it's called Binging with Babish. It's a guy who takes recipes from various pop culture, movies, video games, TV shows, and he recreates them. Well, his episode this week was the wheat cakes and dumpling recipes from the Spider-Man PS4 game.
Oh, he took the recipe that's in the game and made it.
Yes, so y'all should check those out.
Did he like the recipe? Did he eat it? Did he like it?
Oh yeah, he's a great chef. So.
Oh, awesome. We'll have to put that, embed that video on the front page. That'd be kind of fun. I haven't seen that. That'd be fun. JR, final thoughts, sir.
Well, it is kind of fun to. I mean, like I said, I haven't completely jumped on the bandwagon like the rest of you have on Nick Spencer yet, because after all, this is the guy who gave us Secret Empire. But it's nice to have a podcast where everyone is just not so completely down on the story.
Yeah, no doubt, right? It's fun.
I mean, they're at least fun. They're not even if we don't well, other than the meat issue, but the Spencer issues. Even though I really didn't like number 5, for example, it wasn't cringeworthy. I mean, you didn't cringe, So things are looking better at least.
Yeah.
So
I agree, George. The meat issue, that was funny. George,
was there an Oscar Mayer variant?
My comic has a first name.
It's
SYMBO.
Variant by Hillshire Farms.
This will be in one of those Hillshire Farm Christmas packs.
They have a cross promotion with your local grocery store, so that the local butcher, could like appear on the cover.
What's Alice's boyfriend on Brady Bunch? He loved this issue.
Sam.
Yeah, Sam
the butcher. George, any other final thoughts?
I'll be asleep in less than 10 minutes.
All right, we will.
Okay.
All right, gang, this has been fun. George, real quick, in November, we're running out of year. Next month, what do you think we do? Spider Jeopardy. What do you think?
Well, yeah, that's what I've been planning on. Yeah.
All right, Spider Jeopardy ought to be fun.
Oh, great! I got to cram now.
Nick Spencer beat us to it with the answer.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right,
who will defeat my crown? Well, since I won the last
who won
time.
last year? Was it you, Mike?
That was me. So I got to defend my title here.
Didn't you have a perfect run or something? I mean, got them all right or something like that? Didn't you run the table on it?
I was close. No, I did miss a few questions there.
I just want you to know I'm the host, and I will win next year or this year. I can't even get that right.
It's cute that you think so.
I know. Hey, George, can you give me a meat category?
Oh God,
no.
I'll take potted meat for 100, George.
No.
Spider-Man spam for 2. Okay, thanks everybody. This has been fun. All right, let me hit stop broadcast.